What is good, everyone? Hello. Yes, I'm not late today, which is nice. I hope you guys are well. Thank you for being here. Hi, Tony. I hope you guys have a great day. I really do, because it's kind of you can't really see that, but it's raining and it's really not the best weather for being happy, but it's very much good weather for playing Higurashi and being depressed. So it kind of works out. I'll just grab my chat here real quick, and then we're ready to go. Uh, Although actually, you know what? Before we're ready to go, I want to show you guys something real quick, because this is just happening and it's weird. Where is it? Okay, let's turn off the background. Whoop. Hello. And now I'll take my camera and show you something. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? It's Luna. And I got a letter today, which is very rare nowadays. And I put it down there because I didn't have time to read it yet. And she's been sitting on it for like 3 hours, and she just will not move. Luna, why will you not move? What is this your new home? Do you like that letter? It's probably some sort of invoice or something, and now I can't pay it because of the cat. All right, let's try to reposition the camera in a way that it kind of fits my usual layout. Ever since I've made this movable, it's been kind of weird, because every time I set it up, it's different. So I have to check if everything still looks somewhat all right. Yeah, okay, this looks good actually. This looks fine. Okay. Chat is over here so I can see it well. Very nice. She doesn't want you to read. I don't want to read it either. Believe me, but I gotta. At some point I have to. Okay. Let's go. Higurashi time. I wonder if Dinkler will actually join us today, because he started playing World of Warcraft, and either this is a good thing or it's a bad thing. I don't know, but it sure isn't good for the potential of him having a free evening today. So Tony, how have you been? I mean, it's only been 2 days, but maybe something interesting happened. Okay, we gotta press continue and not start. I remember that. We're gonna load. And there we are. So for those of you that do not know this, somewhat distracting music, but sure. I have this, we are voice acting this game every time, basically. Like, all the chapters, back to back. And the fuck happened there? I'm gonna read that back real soon. So, you're not going to hear the original character voices. If you like those, I'm very sorry, I'm gonna butcher them. Because I'm gonna voice act all the things. And I'm gonna give them weird dialects and everything. People wanted that for some reason. We started it, and now we're doing it. Just as a heads up, because for the last stream, people actually asked, what the fuck is this? The few people that watch it after it's live, and I thought I should explain for people that might not have seen any of my Higurashi streams yet, so there you go. Just the usual things, work, etc. Okay. That sounds like you're at least doing well. That's nice. Okay, let's... Dude, what the fuck? No, stop taking pictures. Jesus, that was a lot of text. Okay. We gave Akasaka a German dialect, like the usual German thing you see in Hollywood movies, where there's German talking English, and he's very aggressive and very bad English. I'm trying to replicate that a bit. Needs a lot of water because it's loud. Having the music together with the Higurashi sounds is kind of weird. It's a lot of noise. You guys get my talking as well, so you're overloaded there. Actually, I think the game might be a bit loud, so if you could give me a little bit of feedback on that in the next 2 minutes, that would be nice, because I don't want the game to be too loud. Anyways. The old man, who was apparently named Makino, was he the same Makino that was listed as the the auditor of the Onigafuchi Guardians, showed me around places that were all breathtaking. Even though I wasn't really here for sightseeing, I couldn't help but be impressed. First of all, this was different from the simple scenery of the city. The scenery of a charming village like this, no matter how mundane it seemed to the villagers, had a tranquil appeal to it. At first, I was only releasing the shutter as part of my tourist act, but midway through, I found myself taking pictures out of pure interest. The game is fine right now? Okay, perfect. Thank you. We had that. Tourist traps had their own unique allure to them, but there was nothing like that here. I was especially captivated by the unspoiled nature of the place. If there wasn't that whole uproar over the dam, I would want to bring Yukie here with me here some other time. Yukie is his wife, by the way. He left her behind. I wanted her to breathe the fresh air, as well as show her this rejuvenating verdant scenery. Is something like this that interesting? You're a strange person, Akasaka. No, these cylindrical mailboxes are rare nowadays. They have a certain nostalgic air about them. You wouldn't happen to think they're elegant, would you? Ha 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 ha! Is Hinamizawa fun? Yeah, it's fun. Once she's discharged from the hospital, I'd like to bring my wife here at least once. With the child that would be born by that time. Oh, right, she doesn't even know that he is gonna get a child, right? Right now, she's in the hospital waiting to give birth. She's due any day now. Haha, it'd be nice if they're a cute girl like you. Oh, right. I kind of deleted that from memory, but the whole Papa thing was where we ended it last time because I got way too embarrassed by that. Do not watch last week's stream, please. Do not watch it. Do not spread it. Do not do anything about it. We're burying this deep within our selective memory. Don't, Jay. This is the worst thing you could say to say hello. I'm warning you. We don't talk about it, okay? Who's that? Who's Makino? Oh, that's the old guy, right?
Sir, it seems like regulations are soon to be in order. Still, that's not good. To leave your wife behind and play around in a place like this.
I was momentarily at a loss for words. Also, hi, Jay. It was exactly how Makino said. There was no good reason for a man who was waiting for his wife to give birth to be playing around idly in this place. Did I slip up? Well, we had already planned this trip to Hinamizawa a long time ago. My wife's family is with her, so it's alright. If you had this...
If you had this planned so far in advance, then how come you didn't make the sign-up deadline for the nature watching? If you did, you could have toured around on a nice bus instead of being cramped up in here.
It didn't seem as if Makino was actually digging for anything. But if this conversation continued any longer, it would put some unexpected holes in my cover. Is something happening in this game? Not so far, no. You're baiting them to watch the last stream. I'm not. I'm totally not. No. I'm not some weird YouTuber. I halted the conversation by pretending to take another picture.
Then for our next stop, I'll take you to the place with the best view.
It was slightly before evening. The sun was still burning brightly, but a cool breeze had begun to mix itself into the air. It seemed my exploration of Hinamizawa with Rika-chan was just about done. The place with the best view?
Well, Rika-chama, where else could it be but the view from around the shrine?
Hearing that, Rika-chan smiled even more. Well then, I'll introduce you to my home, Akasaka. Huh? By Rika-chan's home, you mean... Huh? Why did you voice act so good? Voice act what? Good. Apparently, according to Dinkler, I'm doing the shittiest job he's ever heard. It's regarding the voice acting. I think I'm doing okay. I'm really putting my all into this here.
The shrine. Forward the shrine. There's an observation platform. You can see some real pretty scenery.
Furude Shrine. The girl who called Furude Shrine her home, Rika. If I remembered correctly, her full name was Rika Furude. And Furude was, that's right, one of the 3 families. Even if the Sonosaki family is said to hold all the actual power, it was still one of the old houses that held some authority. No, more important than that right now was Furude Shrine. If I remembered correctly, Oishi had told me. Within the grounds of the Furude Shrine, there were the offices of the Onigafuji Guardians. And since the land around Furude Shrine were private property, the police couldn't set foot there heedlessly. Furude Shrine, where even Oishi couldn't simply set foot into. The main base of operations for the Onigafuji Guardians. I had been given the unexpected opportunity to enter there. I couldn't have asked for more. I'm looking forward to it. Please, if you would.
Well, then let's get there quick. The weather seems to be getting a little iffy.
The sky had suddenly become overcast. It wouldn't be odd if it started raining soon. Look, I've never been to Japan, so I don't really know how it works, but if this is a sky that looks like it's about to rain, I don't know. This looks like the sunniest day I've ever seen in my whole life. Like, I don't think I've seen a sky this clear ever. Ever here in Germany. Everything is clouds. Everything is always clouds. We don't live with the sun. We don't have the sun. Why do you think I'm so white? The cicadas, as if trying to finish their daily allotment of chirps before the evening, cried out even more fervently. I'd be white even if we had sun. I just don't go out much. Okay, that was unexpectedly the end of a chapter, or at least the end of a sub-chapter. Chapter? Achievement? Oh, shame. You don't touch grass? No, I don't. I don't. If we go back to our topic from Wednesday, if I had to describe how this place here smelled, I don't know any of these scents. How does wood smell like? How does rock smell like? How does grass and trees smell? I don't know. Dude, I'd love to go to Japan, but I've really not. I don't think I've ever seen a sky like this. Either it's cloudy or at least it's dark. Would smell like death. I don't think Rika is dead yet, and I don't think she's gonna die either. I don't know if you've noticed this, but at least for the second and the third game, the main character girl of the game didn't die. Sadako didn't die. Mion, we are not entirely sure what the hell that was with her crawling out under our hospital bed shortly before we died. That was weird. We killed Rena, right? Do you see that? That's Luna. She's messing up the camera. What? You want to make me invisible? Because you're so dark that the software thinks it has to cut you out? That is so mean. You want to sit there? Okay, come on. You can go. Yeah. There she is. There. Hello, tail. Also, hello, duck. How are you doing? Okay. The van stopped in the shrine's parking lot. Also parked there were numerous other vans with loudspeakers mounted on top of them to act as makeshift propaganda vehicles. On the side of each vehicle was scrawled, "The dam project must be demolished. Defend our homeland to the last." Very German, that fits. No Yashiro-sama's anger, or a slogan of a similar kind. They gave the feeling that even without using the loudspeakers, there was enough to overwhelm any onlookers. Vertical banners were erected in various places. The contents of those banners were similar. They were all objections against the dam or crude insults towards the government. There were horizontal banners, placards, and so on and so forth. They proclaimed that without a doubt, this was the headquarters of the Onigafuji Guardians. For Rika-chan, however, this hectic place was also her home. Oh god, that is close. We've arrived. I'm home. Rika-chan crawled over my lap and exited the vehicle first. Makino had noticed that I was looking at protest banners.
The shrine also has the offices of the anti-dam movement. For you, this is...
wait, no, Luna, no, bad Luna, don't do that, don't. I don't like that. Give me 1 second. We don't want to do that at all. Nope. If the stream cuts out any moment now, then I can show you why. I'm glad that I can move the camera around now because it allows for stuff like that. Just give me a second. It's gonna go overhead. It's because of that. Because she's sitting on my PC, and you see that power button? It looks mighty pressable by some sort of paw, maybe. So if that happens, I'm very sorry. If it doesn't happen, then that's good. We'll see. She did that before. That's why I'm somewhat scared of it happening. Okay, I'm a bit too far to the right here. Like that. Better? I think so, yeah. Okay. Don't press it. Stop being a troll. You're not Joe. The only thing you can troll me about is falling to my death. You didn't do that in a while, by the way.
For you, this probably brings back memories of the anti-security treaty conflicts back in the day.
The student movements against government policies, movements that bordered on terrorist activity, were at one time commonplace, if only in order to garner global attention. The students holding out in lecture halls, brawling with the riot squads that charged in. It was an age where wasting one's youth like that was widely considered a road to glory. It was slightly before my time. Not to be mean, because any game has its fans, but this seems kind of... Look. It's a visual novel that is extremely slow. Even fans have to give it that. Like, it's a good read. It becomes very exciting like midway through each title, but it's also boring at the start. That's true. I'm not gonna argue on that. I'm not really an activist or anything. I studied without incidents and graduated without incident. I don't really agree with the violence or occupations they use to protest the government's policies.
Oh, you have quite a nice opinion there.
If you have an opinion on a policy, vote for the candidate who shares your view, or enter the political world yourself and assert your beliefs in a lawful manner. That is the foundation of democracy. I don't think that's something you should challenge with violence. He is like the most German, non-German guy I've ever seen. Like, the way everything he says kind of overlaps with something I would expect to come out of an actual German. I love when I have to hear it gets better halfway through. I'm not saying it gets better, I'm saying it gets more exciting. Like, this tends to build up a lot in the early stages, and then everything falls to pieces. Which I think is the big home hitter for most people that enjoy these games. Also, they are much, much shorter than what you see here on stream because I constantly talk to you guys, and voicing takes much longer than reading. So I tend to drag this out a lot. If you'd play this on your own, you'd probably be done in like 4 hours. For a young'un, you have some fine beliefs. I saw that feeling of respect reflected in Makino's gaze. At that moment, something tugged at my sleeve. I have no idea what Akasaka is saying. Rika-chan, feeling like she was the only one who didn't understand the conversation, had a look of displeasure on her face. That expression was so charming, I had to keep myself from grinning like an idiot. The fuck? It's often said that no, not that shit again, dude. Can you stop with the daddy fetish shit? It's often said that a father wants to spoil his daughter rotten. I think I understood that feeling very well. Sorry, it was a little bit hard for Rika-chan to understand, wasn't it? Japan is a peaceful country, so you have to argue your point in a peaceful manner. You shouldn't resort to violence, in other words. No matter how much I explained, a girl who was just boasting about being able to carry digits over when adding things probably wouldn't understand. It probably wasn't something to talk about in front of Rika-chan anyway. I think she understands way more than anybody else in this whole thing. And no, she does not know personal space. This happens a lot. She's always up in your face. Uh-oh. Okay. So then, Akasaka, how do you think we should keep our village from being flooded by the dam? Even if I regretted my careless words, it was too late now. Here I was at the main headquarters of an organization, telling them their way of doing things was illegal. Preaching that violence was not the answer. A complicated feeling had mixed itself in with respect in Makino's gaze. It was then I finally realized. It wasn't that simple. There wasn't a soul who would argue that what I was saying wasn't correct. Using violence to get one's way was something that everybody knew you shouldn't be proud of. However, right now, Hinamizawa was in a predicament that couldn't be overcome with peaceful means alone. The legality of the Hinamizawa Dam project, through the efforts of the various propaganda campaigns enacted by the Onigafuji Guardians, was being called into question. If they further strengthened their campaign, they might be able to suspend or change the construction plans. But that was at most just a possibility. If the government proceeded with the construction as planned, it wouldn't be long before this place was at the bottom of a lake. If it wasn't for the unstrained resistance to the residents of Hinamizawa, this place might already have been underwater. We can't live anywhere else other than here. We can't live in the city. The words of this remarkably young girl were all too accurate, carrying with them the screams of the hearts and minds of the residents of Hinamizawa. Why are you eating tissues? Can you not do that, Luna? What the fuck? No? How about no? Why are you so active today? You usually just sleep when I stream. Are you bored? Anything wrong? You good? Weird. Cats are weird. Of course, there was nothing I could say to respond to that. I could only respond to Makino and Rika-chan's heavy words with silence. I'm sorry. This isn't a problem that an outsider should lightly just poke their nose into, is it? I apologize. Makino, unsure of how to reply for a while, could only laugh pointlessly.
It's nothing that concerns guests that make their home somewhere else. If you enjoy it here, please tell all your friends that Hinamizawa is a wonderful place. Please. If word spreads to dozens, maybe even hundreds of people, then that ridiculous plan to submerge this place at the foot of the dam will eventually fall apart. Look, I hate to break it, but even if this is just a small village, if just a few dozen people oppose a government decision, that's not gonna overturn shit. It's not gonna happen, dude. Like, I feel like they're kind of not really grasping what's going on, and that's why they have to resort to violence. I feel like they approach this a bit too laid back in the beginning, and then it goes wrong, and that's why they have to resort to violence, because nobody takes them serious. And okay, Luna, can you stop wagging your tail in my face, please? It's kind of distracting, honestly. Okay. Oh, yeah. Apparently not. Come on, sit down at least. Okay, just sit down. I'm a crawl your back, and you can sit down while I do this here. Okay. Yes. Yes. You know what? I'm going to play some Ultra Kill and have this on the background. Look, I appreciate it, but if you don't want to see this or hear this, then I don't mind. You don't have to force yourself. He followed that with a smile that said, "Please don't think much of it. Makino letting me not worry that much was really a stroke of good fortune." Can you not bite me? Becoming infatuated with the idea of making friends with a little girl had made me completely forget my apprehension at being in enemy territory. Being reminded of this right before I was going to step foot into the headquarters might have been a good thing. I don't like how focused on Rika he is, let's be real. If we'd had this exchange in the middle of their office, there was a short-tempered youth in there, they might have come at me. Thinking of how extreme they were, in the worst case, my life could have been in danger. It seems that I looked quite despondent at the moment. Makino, thinking he had something said he had said something wrong, became flustered, trying to think of a way to improve my mood. I'm having a hard time doing this whole German act. It's actually harder than I expected to do. It's not like that, trust me. I'm open to a lot of things. I just need something else to do while it... Yeah, okay, I can see why. I was a bit careless just now. I'm very sorry. No, don't worry about it, don't worry that much about it.
The sights you showed me around the village were all beautiful, wonderful places. I really do want to come here one more time. If this beautiful village is going to be submerged at the bottom of a lake, I can understand why you would fight so desperately. I had somehow managed to use my despondent look to change the topic in my favor. After a bit, Makino had returned to his usual high spirits. It seemed he believed I completely sympathized with his point of view. Also, if you can't tell, I have ADHD. I honestly can't tell. I'm gonna be real, because ADHD is a topic that I kind of think developed in the wrong direction in the last 5 to 10 years. Way too many people think they actually have it when it's like a legitimate sickness, and they don't have it, and they're just a bit weird, which everybody is, right? Especially in your teens. It's not that unusual to be a bit hyperactive and stuff. If you have diagnosed ADHD, then I didn't say shit.
Now, let's leave that talk at that for now. There's a place around here with a really great view.
Is it gonna be the bridge where we got pushed to our almost death last time? Let's go, Akasaka. Rika-chan, seemingly happy to be free from all the boring and gloomy adult talk, bounded up the stone steps. There was no real need to run. but in order to catch up with her, I also darted up the steps. There were several tents belonging to the town council erected on the shrine grounds. Inside the tents were several folding tables and chairs, and a number of the older town council members were livening things up with chit-chat. They weren't saying anything incendiary. Incendiary, what does that mean? Like, the damn project must be destroyed. It was just some relaxed idle chatter between local Jesus. The normal sort of calming scenery. At the entrance of a shed that looked like a meeting place, there was a large sign erected with Onigafuchi Guardian's headquarters written in bold brush strokes. That was their base of operations. He keeps calling it that, but it's just a house, isn't it? Like, I don't see the big... It's just a house. There's nothing that big of a deal about this. Been known to have ADHD since like 2008. I was diagnosed really young, so it's not like it's a new thing for me. Yeah, see, that's okay. What I mean is that people like you who actually have it and suffer from it because it's a sickness get kind of downplayed by a lot of people saying, oh, I have ADHD, when they actually just like are idiots. A bit weird, a bit teenager like everybody else. I find that somewhat disrespectful and annoying. So I'm a bit iffy on the whole thing. But if you're diagnosed, then that's a whole different story. To be honest, it was a bit of a letdown. If you asked what I had been imagining, this is a bit embarrassing, but I'd have thought it would be something much more dramatic. With barbed wire fences and barricades. My first impression of the place, though, was completely different from that. It looked like a simple backwater town hall. That's what I said. It didn't look like anything other than exactly that. The old folks who were chatting had noticed Rika-chan's presence.
Well, if it isn't Rika-chama, it's time for little kids to head on home.
This is my home. The old folks guffawed, since she wasn't wrong. From that exchange, I could tell that this Rikafude girl was loved by everybody. Dude, he didn't have a sprite before, did he? Is he gonna be important in this game? Like, more so than being the first dead guy to show up in every other game? Also, his head is gigantic. He looks like... He looks like he has extra skull. Like, he is so smart that his brain has expanded his skull ceiling. I mean, that makes sense because holy crap, do people claim they have problems because it makes them look strong and cool? Yeah, it's a type of attention seeking, especially nowadays in the ages of online and social media. A lot of people say things that just aren't true in the hopes of getting more attention that way. And it often downplays people with actual problems. Also very much a thing in the fat people scene. It's kind of weird to call it the fat people scene, but it's true. Like, a lot of people will say they're fat because of some sickness or anything when they just eat too much burgers. Like, just stop eating fat food and do some exercise. I have to look in the mirror to say that because I'm fat myself, but I'm you know what I mean, right? Most of you aren't sick. The American community, you meant? Maybe. Among others. Twice. Times 5. Mark... what voice do I give him?
Makino-san.
No, that's the same voice I had for the other guy.
Makino-san. Who's that?
He's on his deathbed. Don't tell Twitter I'm not on Twitter anymore. I got nothing to lose. I can say whatever I want.
A tourist who phoned? That's right. This is the mayor of Hinamizawa, Mayor Kimiyoshi.
He smiled brightly, but there was no mistaking he would be scary if he got angry. By the looks of things, this old man was the president of the Onigafuchi Guardians, none other than Kiichiro Kimiyoshi himself.
Well, welcome to Hinamizawa. What do you think? It's a quiet and relaxing place, isn't it?
Yeah, I was able to appreciate a multitude of beautiful places throughout the whole day. I'm thankful for being granted this rare opportunity.
Even though you're one of those young ones, you're quite the gentleman.
Kiichiro, I want to show Akasaka a cool place. Thinking that the formalities between myself and the mayor had gone on for too long, Rika-chan butted into the conversation. For her to call the mayor by his first name, I felt it was a little strange, but none of the villagers seemed to mind. A girl of the Furude household, one of the 3 families. She was probably different than the average villager. Oh, can you stop doing that, please?
Akasaka, over here.
Rika-chan tugged at my sleeve. Not resisting, I allowed myself to be pulled over, and waiting for me was a magnificent view. Oh, we've seen that like 5 times already. I'm sorry. I guess it's new from our new character's perspective, but like, you know, I know this view. It's very pretty. It's the town. Rika never uses honorifics, right, with nobody. And I think that's because she's actually the oldest one in terms of mental age, because I'm pretty convinced she's like... No, I feel like she's not like a time traveler. I'm somewhat between she is Oyashiro-sama, which... I don't know, that feels kind of too on the nose for these kinds of games. Or she's a repeater. You know, she's the actual main character, and she's the one that knows everything from the last game all the time. So technically she has lived hundreds of years because she keeps repeating that summer, or that if she's already repeating here, then I guess her life, she would be reborn or something in another timeline and lives up to where she dies. Something like that is what I expect to be like the framework of the backstory for the game that we're hopefully gonna get into soon, and then unravel it from there. All the mysteries that have been built up, that would be a nice way to do it. She's the rudest one. That's also a possibility. She's just an asshole.
I don't pay attention to you Japanese idiots and your customs. This is your name and I'm gonna use it.
This is amazing. It was an observation deck that looked down on the village. They, knowing that this was the best view in the entire village, kept quiet as I stood there awestruck. I was holding a camera, but had completely forgotten to even glance through the viewfinder. This view, no matter what kind of film it was printed on, it wouldn't be able to show everything. Please take a picture for your wife. If there was a way to explain it, it would only be what I would be able to put into words. It was just such a breathtaking, spectacular view that I struggled to find a comparison. For a while, I was left awestruck. I could only stand there in wonder. A cool breeze helped abate the heat rushing through my body. That comfortable sensation also left me speechless. Rika-chan, who had been holding onto my sleeves the entire time, spoke.
This is my favorite spot.
As she said that, she showed me another adorable smile. The smile seemed very fleeting. If you ask why, that was because the view from her favorite spot would eventually be submerged under the deep green waters of the dam reservoir. Why green? Why would the water be green? I just can't believe that this village is going to end up at the bottom of a lake. I said it quietly so that only Rika-chan could hear it. Can finally watch a stream. Hey there. What's good, Dr. Silver? How are you doing? Thank you for being here. I hope you're having a good day and had a good week. Also, happy Easter to everybody here, because this is this weekend for those that don't know and maybe aren't Christian or from a region where that's celebrated, but it's holidays for me and a lot of other people. You do not recognize the bodies in the green water. We didn't have to go there. Luna, what is wrong? Can you give me a second, please? I'll be right back. Stupid. What's your problem? I've got a cat, and she's an asshole. Are you an asshole? Why are you such an asshole today? Why are you so weird? Yeah, what now? I got you. And you kind of enjoy it, I think. What do we do now? We can't stay like this. This is very hurtful for my hand and also probably not good for your back. Or any other bones you have. Also paws. So what do you want? You want me to tickle your paws so you get annoyed at me? Yeah. Go and sleep. Go sleep. Let me show you the way she looks right now. Oh, okay, she stopped. I can't show you anymore. All right, I'm back. For I hope all the time. I don't know. She's so weird today. I don't know what to do with her. Forgot Easter existed. I mean, you're from Australia, right? Do you? What's the religion there? Like the usual religion? It's not Christian, right? Do you even have any? I don't know. I regretted it as soon as I did. For those words were all too cruel. Yeah, this is like the second time in 10 minutes that you say something stupid to a little kid. However, Rika-chan didn't let them cast a cloud on her expression. In fact, she replied with a smile. It won't sink. It won't sink. The dam project will definitely go away. It was just like a little girl to say something like that. There was no basis for her saying so. It was just her wish. Akasaka, do you think that this village will be submerged? It's not that I want it to be. I knew how important the dam was. I knew that it was necessary. I just didn't want to recognize the sacrifices that would be made. I agreed with the project in general, but couldn't agree with some of the details. But if it meant that this girl's beloved scenery would be taken from her... I just noticed that the chat is kind of weirdly placed. Let's put it up here. Maybe, like that. So you guys can actually read the chat without it being weirdly fused and mutated with the game's actual, like, text. Probably better there. Christianity is popular here, except for where I live. Okay, I actually didn't know that. I thought Christianity was more of a European thing in general, overall, especially Catholic Christianity. I might be able to object to the dam. I might be able to ignore the interests of the nation. the development of Japan, all for the sake of one girl's smile. I'm not really much of a humanist, but how sentimental of me.
It won't be submerged, because the dam project will soon go away.
Her words weren't just hopes and dreams, but were seasoned with a hint of resolve. As I'm sorry. As if she was talking about an unchangeably predetermined outcome. As surely as the sun rising in the east, it'll be gone soon? Wanting to ask her why she believed that, I turned around.
Yes. It'll be gone?
What makes you say that?
Well, you see...
She seemed to want to answer, but as though unable to find the right words, she swallowed back what she was about to say. Was she about to say, "Oh yeah, I'm actually reincarnated"?
Regardless of what Akasaka does, the dam project will end this year. It's already been decided.
That was a lie. If something like that had already been decided, then the Onigafuchi Guardians would have no reason to continue existing. From my point of view, it was like they were doing nothing more than throwing themselves into an endless battle. If they knew the dam project was cancelled, it would feel much more relaxed around here. The village, though, could hardly be called relaxed. For evidence of that, I just had to remember how charged the atmosphere was at the checkpoint or at the bus stop. The villagers, with their misplaced resolve, were still fighting, and this girl, even knowing the villagers' grim resolve, had already declared the victory. The villagers throwing themselves into an endless war, and this optimistic girl who said they had already won. That contrast was something strange. Why do you think that? If you know something that makes you that confident, could you tell me? Rika-chan stayed silent for a while, seemingly choosing what to say.
Because...
Because... She looked like she was lost on whether she should continue or not. As if she was troubled on whether it was okay for her to say it, that kind of expression.
It's already been decided. There's no other way to say it.
It's already been decided, huh? It really is just like a little girl to say something like that. I couldn't believe it was actually true. She was the only one saying such things with such confidence. My real mission that I had forgotten about during this fun-filled day resurfaced at the back of my mind. The kidnapping of the minister's grandson. Oh, right, that happened. Thank you for saying that. I also forgot. Had the Onigafuchi Guardians kidnapped the minister's grandson and already succeeded in negotiating the cancellation of the dam project? Did Kimiyoshi actually already know that and was just playing dumb? Was what that this girl was really telling me? Can we just address the fact that in any non-anime situation, if you met a girl who is like 6 years old and she tells you something that is hard to believe from a logical point of view, I don't think you'd believe her. Like, it's just plain as that. No, everybody else would just be like, "Oh, come on, she's a little kid. She's just talking shit." Why is he so focused on believing her and trying to find out what she means? And she could just as well be just a stupid kid who's like, "Yes, that's what it is, and I decided that, so it's gonna stop."
Akasaka.
The girl called out my name suddenly. She's not using his first name, by the way. I don't think we even know his first name. But she's calling everybody else by their first names all the time. Rika is an illusion. I think Rika is some sort of AI. He thinks Rika knows something. I mean, she could because of her name, but still, I think he's overestimating a little kid. And this feels like right before when I next click, I'm gonna have some creepy thing. His name is Mamoru. Oh, right. That's funny. Because that means like, I think that translates to like protector. Is he, and he's like a cop and also, like kind of like a bodyguard who had for the abducted kid. And maybe even for Rika, I don't know, maybe something happens and they end up like having to flee the village or something. Okay. So the girl called out my name suddenly, but she's not using his first name. That's what I mean. What is it? Go back to Tokyo. That sound effect was a bit more dramatic than this actually looks like. I know all of the girls have some sort of scary face, but she's just cute. I don't think this is scary at all. Like, yes, she's close up and shit, but I don't know, man. I just want to pet her head. Oh god, not that one. Huh? I wasn't only surprised at that sudden command. Ever since I came to this village, I had never once mentioned I was from I mean, yes, I guess, but is that so hard to like extrapolate? Big city boy comes to this little place, check it out. He's from Tokyo. Based on my accent, you might have been able to guess where I was from. It's certainly not Deutschland. But what was I getting so worked up over? It was probably the sudden and complete change in her demeanor. You should definitely go back to Tokyo right away. If not, you will woefully regret it. The girl had been holding my sleeves the entire time. Or maybe she's like possessed. There's obviously only one big city in Japan. There's obviously only one big city in Japan in Japanese media. And what else do they use? When anyone in like an anime or a Japanese game or anything is from a big city, that's Tokyo. It's always Tokyo, let's be real. She'd been tugging at my sleeve since hurriedly dragging me over to show me this wonderful view. I don't think she wants to show you the view. I think she wants you to get the fuck out of here because she knows you're gonna die. I think she is aware that he's gonna die in the mission of saving the grandkid, and she grew attached to him or something, and she wants to save him in this cycle, in this alternate reality, because she regrets letting him die last time or something. And she can't trust her own villager friends, so she has to tag him off and play the innocent girl to get him alone. But this was the adorable Rika-chan who I'd spent the entire day with. There was no way she could have been replaced with a doppelganger when I wasn't looking. She had been holding onto my sleeves this entire time, but somehow this girl was someone other than Rika-chan. She looked like Rika-chan, but she wasn't. She was some girl I had never met before. That girl had told me in an indifferent voice that I would eventually regret coming to this village from the bottom of my heart. That would be an incredibly pathetic thing to see. So I thought I'd warn you right now. Why would I come to regret it? Hey, she's me. Oh wait, I think I did something to my mic. I hope it still sounds good. I unfortunately I unconsciously turned a knob. I'm sorry. Stop whining. I couldn't believe that I was hearing such cold words from Rika-chan's mouth. I just couldn't believe it. Was somebody impersonating her using ventriloquism or something? Could you play her voice when she says these lines? I can, yeah, sure.
いちいちうるさいな。赤坂。いちいちうるさいな。
If Dinkler sees this, I know he's not here right now, but if he like watches this later or something, you tell me again that this voice actress isn't super talented. There's a reason why she's the most popular voice actress in Japan, or one of, or was the most popular for a good while. Thinking that, I wanted to take a look around. Also, I can't deliver that. I'm sorry. I don't have that much range, and I don't voice her that high either. The girl's gaze had me pinned down, making me unable to move. When you tried crossing the road when the "Don't Walk" sign was up, did your parents finish explaining why it was dangerous before pulling you back to the sidewalk? They'd pull you back right away, wouldn't they? They'd pull you back before explaining why it was dangerous, wouldn't they? In other words, it's something like that. The girl I had spent time with, Rika Wurde, would not speak like that. She would speak with cuteness befitting her age, with brief, childish remarks, expressing her emotions honestly. She definitely wouldn't speak with such pointed words. I've warned you. Don't get the wrong idea. It's not like I'm saying this because I hate you. You don't need to tell somebody who's better off dead that they're in danger. Who are you? You're not Rika-chan. Oh, okay. Now this is not as cute. This is kind of disturbing. Okay, I want to hear that. Is this a creepy laugh? Somewhat. She sounds like she's like 500 years older. I think I'm right on track with my idea for her backstory. As soon as I accused her of not being Rika-chan, she let out a strange, quiet giggle. It was a laugh, not befitting a child of her age. It was like she was possessed by something. Her change was just that total and complete. Was Rika-chan being attacked by some terrifying phenomenon? That occult idea came to mind without any sort of hesitation. Rika-chan is acting strange. Somebody help! It's the Void. Yeah, she dragged me to the Void, just like that shitty boss fight on Wednesday. I don't think she's a demon. I don't think there's actual demons in this. Like, this is... I think it's a fantasy story, yes, but not high fantasy, like with monsters and demons and shit. I think it's still somewhat rooted in, you know, in reality. Something that could almost happen, but probably not exactly like that. Thinking that I yelled at, I turned to where the mayor was. I immediately realized he was looking at us with a smile. That's right, to him, it looked like nothing more than me and Rika-chan fooling around. He didn't notice that there was something terrifying happening here. Akasaka is such a coward. The girl had obviously grasped that I was afraid. Noticing that and calling me a coward, she laughed again. That cackling girl, approaching me in a strange manner while still laughing, lost her balance and fell flat on her face. She got what she deserved. Rika-chan fell down. If it was just a while before, I would have extended a hand to help her up without hesitation. But now extending a hand to this ominous girl who looked like Rika-chan but wasn't required a bit more courage than I had at the moment. Well, I'm in such pain I just died to the final two bosses of the level, which made me lose my P rank. What the hell is a P rank? Meep. The girl cried out thus. She then squirmed upright and dusted herself off. Afterwards, she looked around restlessly as a blank expression crept across her face. You've got to be kidding me. Was she making fun of me? That way of acting. It was as though, after being possessed by something, she had lost her memories of what happened. You're joking, right? Rika-chan? Meep. I don't know if Rika-chan had heard me or not. She just cried out like that, as if questioning herself. Hi, mister. Rika-chan too. Tea's ready. There's some snacks too, so please come and have some. An old lady wearing a smock was waving energetically from the entrance of the office. Hearing that there were snacks, Rika-chan's expression changed. Yay! A carefree smile. That was a familiar smile, the one that belonged to the embodiment of my ideal daughter. Any hint of the creepy girl that was just there spouting sinister words had vanished. Come on, Rika-chama. Wash your hands first. There aren't any manju here for dirty hands. I'll wash them real good. Meep. Rika-chan responded with vigor, running off to the washing station that was along the side of the office. She stopped halfway, turning around to call me. If Akasaka doesn't hurry up, I'll eat his share of manju too. They're steaming fresh. Huh? People who don't wash their hands aren't allowed to eat any manju. No matter how you looked at it, that was Rika-chan. Those words and the way she said them, no matter how you heard them, they were definitely Rika-chan's. Come on now, mister. You're the adult here, so show her how it's done. The old lady urged me to wash my hands. Without any resistance, I lined up beside Rika-chan at the wash station. Splish splash. I stared at Rika-chan, intent on washing her hands properly, like she had probably learned at school. You learned that at school? Meep. Did I do something wrong? By wrong, you mean? How I'm washing my hands. I only got 4 gold stickers for it. I'm probably bad at washing my hands. You're not doing anything wrong. If you're washing them that carefully, that's more than enough. But it's not, Akasaka. If you don't use a brush and clean out the dirt underneath your fingernails, you won't get a gold sticker. Rika-chan, you're very diligent. That's something to be proud of. Nippa, I was praised by Akasaka. No matter how you looked at it, it was Rika-chan. There was no trace of that girl from before. Exactly what was that sinister girl? Rika-chan, what was the meaning of what happened just now? Just now, you told me to go back to Tokyo, didn't you? Did I say that? I was at a loss for words. She didn't remember what that girl just now had said. Like, I would ever believe something as occult as that could happen. Like, I would ever believe that Rika-chan could be possessed by that strange girl and say those creepy things. Rika-chan, you definitely said that. Meep. Her expression told me that, despite my saying so, she had no idea. She wasn't playing dumb. She actually didn't know. Exactly what was that just now? Just as Rika-chan had, I let a look of confusion creep across my face. The two of us, both looking like we had no idea what was going on, must have certainly been a humorous sight to behold. While partaking of tea and snacks, I was shown a propaganda film shot by the Guardians that highlighted the resistance of efforts. This is a... Dude! This is just a cult. Hey, we got snacks. Come on in, okay? Here, look at... Are you bored? Here, we got a film for you. How about this? Look, that's what we do. We throw stones at people. You want to join? Older folks talked passionately on how long and grueling the fight against the dam was, but they fell on deaf ears. I was transfixed by Rika-chan, who had heard these stories countless times before and was nodding off. Eventually, Rika-chan noticed I was staring at her and smiled as she rubbed her eyes. That smile was Rika-chan's after all. There was no hint of that sinister shadow. After that, my unreasonable fear of Rika-chan lessened with the passing of time, but I could by no means forget what had happened. It eventually grew dark. The mayor said that they had prepared dinner, but I said I would come again tomorrow and took my leave. I had to return to the hotel and file my regular report with the section chief. Bro, dude has gotta work at night. Poor fucker.
I see. Well then, please come again tomorrow. If you phone, we'll send somebody to pick you up right away.
I appreciate your hospitality. I'll probably come again and enjoy myself tomorrow.
Yes, please do. It seems that Rika-chama has taken a pretty big liking to you.
Akasaka, are you coming again tomorrow? I will finish after 5th period, so if you could come at around 3 o'clock, that would make me happy.
What? 5th period at 3 o'clock, like, obviously afternoon. Does school work like that in Japan? How long is a period in school? Like, I don't know how this is for you guys, but like here in Germany, we've got like 45-minute lessons, like periods. So 5th period would end somewhere around 12 p.m. With school starting at 8 a.m. So this is weird to me. Either their school starts giga late or their lessons run for ages. Please come again. That pure smile urged me to do so. There wasn't a trace of that evil aura. Depending on what happened next, all that might end up as nothing more other than my hallucination. Thinking about it logically, if the daughter of the Furude household, one of the 3 families, had taken a liking to me, then this was as strong a foothold for my investigation from here on out. It was like a free ticket for a reason to visit Hinamizawa. If only I could treat that little incident as a figment of my imagination. Then, having this girl who was the embodiment of my ideal daughter grow so attached to me wasn't bad either. I had successfully dove into the belly of the Onigafuji Guardians and had the mayor as well as other important members of the Alliance welcome me with his open arms. This was a great turn of events. However, I still felt uneasy. Getting back to the hotel, I forced myself an almost painfully cold beer. I forced down an almost painfully cold beer until I could clear my mind. The shock from that incomprehensibly strange incident continued to torment me. What? Oh, okay, it's done. 8 to 3 for me? Yeah, but that wouldn't be 5 periods, would it? That would make each period like 1.5 hours long. Alright. We got the second achievement, the terrifying shrine girl. I wouldn't call it terrifying, but certainly interesting. Let me just get my desk up so I can stand for a bit because my back is hurting. 7 periods, including lunch. Yeah. It's 8 to 3 for me. See, but if you say it's 7 periods, that's like 2 less, more than what Rika. It doesn't really matter that much. I was just wondering why it sounded like so little. For us, if we had maybe period is 2 45-minute lessons, that could be. Like for us, if we had from 8 to 3, it depended on the day. Like sometimes you had from 8 to 1, sometimes you had from 8 to 3 or even 5. But it changed with the courses you took and stuff. But for us, from 8 to 3 would have been 8 periods. And from 8 to 5 would have been, like, including breaks and stuff. 8 to 5 would have been 10 periods. And the longest I've ever had was 12. I was at school from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then I had to drive home and to the school, of course. So I was like, that was a long day. I had 4 periods, each being about an hour and 45 minutes. I find it interesting how basically every country does school periods and timings differently. 6-year-old children studying for 8 hours sounds crazy. Yeah, that's also something to address, but you've got to remember that the school in this game, or in this town, is like one single class for the whole village. So they probably just, it's more of a nursery really for the smaller kids than it is like an actual school, I would assume. Or maybe they start later or something, so they can do the heavier classes in the beginning of the day, and the smaller kids only come in at like 11 a.m. or something. That phone is always such a weird sound because it's so unexpected. The phone suddenly rang. I woke up in a hurry. The clock read 9 p.m., dude. Damn it! I slept past the time I was supposed to report it. Why did you go to sleep even? I picked up the receiver.
Akasaka-sama, you have a call from an outside line. Shall I connect you? It's from a coworker named Kano-sama.
I knew it. I didn't call in, so they had phoned me. Sorry, please put them through.
Understood. I'll connect you, so please hang up the receiver for the time being.
After I had put down the receiver for a few seconds, the phone began to ring again. Yes, hello? This is Akasaka.
Akasaka-kun, this is Kano. Good work out there. You didn't call in for your regular report, so we called instead. What's your situation?
Leaving the lecture for later, my senior coworker got straight to the point. Today I went to the village proper. Under the guise of a tourist, I managed to establish contact with the mayor and several other core members of the Guardians. I wasn't able to ask them anything, but I left a good impression and was able to make a bridge for my investigation from tomorrow onwards.
I see. It looks like things are going smoothly. Akasaka-kun, you seem rather naive sometimes, but that might have worked in your favor. I guess you've made some good progress for now.
I don't have the experiments to make a comparison, so I don't know if it's that good or not. I think things went well for today, though.
Did you find out anything from the prefectural or local offices? Does it look as though the Onigafuchi Guardians is unrelated to this incident?
I still didn't know. I should have been able to say that immediately. I only had to say that, but for some reason I hesitated. I'm still investigating, so I don't know what to say yet.
I see. Could you let us know as soon as possible? I think you understand, but after tonight, it'll have been a full 4 days since the kidnapping happened. They didn't set a time limit, but it's obvious that time is not on our side. I think you know that.
Yeah, I know. I'll investigate a little quicker, but still being careful about it.
Okay, be sure to look after yourself. You're dealing with a violent organization here. It might be dangerous to let your guard down. If you feel that you're in any danger, contact me immediately. In that case, I can get the local public safety office prepared to help you.
Thank you. I'll do my best.
Anything else to report?
I reported several bits of supplementary information, and at the very end, I decided to ask. How's the investigation going on your end?
Everybody's doing their best here, but we're not making much progress. After all, the number of organizations we're investigating is vast. So if you find out the one you're investigating is in the clear, we'll have you return to Tokyo to assist some of the other officers. The chief is saying to dig up what you can on Onigafuchi, but I don't think a residential anti-dam protest group has any relation to the incident at hand. Sending somebody out just to investigate a single group makes me cringe, really.
At this point, he was just complaining. He was telling me to stop taking time enjoying my trip, to finish up and get back quick. I'll try to resolve this as soon as I can.
Thanks, I'm counting on you. Well, if there's nothing else, I'm hanging up.
Okay, that's all I have. I don't like this officer, this Kano dude. He goes into this whole thing like, hey, you gotta hurry your ass up, you're not making progress, and then he reports and says, yeah, well, we're not making progress, it's really hard for us, you know, like, you gotta throw your back in, we can't do that for you. I want to throw my computer out the window. Did you die again? As we were ending our call, he scolded me thoroughly for being late with my regular report, and then something like that. I think Japanese work hierarchy is bullshit. Hate me for that, but I'm German and I think that, and we love work. After that, I hung up the phone and sprawled out on the bed. Come to think of it, I hadn't heard anything from Oishi. He was supposed to contact me about a time and place to meet with the informant tonight. I thought about getting angry with Oishi in retaliation for being scolded for forgetting my daily report. Come to think of it, though, Oishi didn't really say anything other than he was going to call tonight. Waiting for a phone call when you didn't know what time it was going to come in itself is rather difficult. Yeah, I hate that shit. Just when I thought that, the phone rang. I picked up the receiver in a hurry. Hello?
Well, this is a surprise.
But I love that theme so much, it's so cool. Jazushi is back. I don't even want to continue reading, man. It's gonna stop anytime soon. I'm so glad this game, like this part 4, it kind of, like, Oishi got his own theme. Kimiyoshi has got his own sprite. I feel like they're kind of working on the quality they had to skip on for the earlier games due to time constraints, and they want to push it back in.
Akasaka-san, you're pretty quick to answer the phone. Are you a regular user of dating chat lines or something?
I would never even try something seedy like that.
The way you overreact is rather interesting. Want to go to a place where you can have a little bit of lewd fun?
I'll pass. So could you please get to the point, Oishi-san?
Really? Too bad. We'll leave that for next time then. Well, I'll get to the point.
Many of the executives in the Onigafuchi Guardians had a lot of sway in the neighboring regions. Even in Okinomiya, there were a lot of people with relations to the village. That's why meeting in the Shishibone market district far from Okinomiya was a matter of course.
Akasaka-san, over here. Did you get a little lost? Coming from the north entrance might have been a bit of a detour, but it was easier to give directions from there.
No, I'm sorry for being late.
Did you eat dinner already?
Yeah, I already did.
Well then, shall we go to a place where you can get a drink? Do you prefer Western alcohol or maybe sake? Would you prefer a place with or without women?
Don't worry about it. I don't drink while I'm on the job. No, you just ogle little girls while you're on the job, thinking about how you want them to be your daughter. I didn't die again, but to put into perspective, the run I died on was the second time I've lost a P rank to that boss, and I see that boss as super easy, even more so because the first time I killed him without dying, so I'm just getting sad that I'm Hey, sometimes you have these bad days, even in a game you're good at and have played a lot. It's just normal, don't worry about it. I also still don't understand what the hell a P rank is. It sounds dirty.
See, isn't he just adorable? In exchange, you can give him a bit extra. That money all come from this guy's wallet, you know.
The man that Oishi had brought seemed almost like a ticket scalper or a bookie. Even his appearance was dubious. The informant grinned deviously.
Hey boy, how much did you give this guy? Looks like there was quite a bit skimmed off the top, you know.
Oishi's handling fee was included, so I took that into account. It seems that the informant had expected a more extravagant reaction on my part. When I responded matter-of-factly, he realized that I was an entirely different type of person than he was. But rather than putting a distance between us, it helped that I piqued his interest.
I said it, didn't I? He's the serious type. But do you see, Akasaka-san? People in the line of work like ours can really use their wealth of experience for their advantage.
I'm wondering exactly how the experience of drinking in a bar with women would work to my advantage. The informant, unable to contain himself, clutched at his stomach as he guffawed, heedless of the people watching.
Oh lordy, Akasaka-san, you can judge people. That's what an education does for you.
Oishi-san, you've been drinking somewhere, haven't you? Are you drunk?
What's wrong with drinking when I'm off duty? Even you're working. I'm not.
Oishi, who was a sort of that would fool around to begin with, was in such a good mood I couldn't figure out a way to deal with him. Yeah, drunk old men are like that. Completely different than me, who had come worried about getting every bit of information I could. Oishi-san, after taking so much money, you were supposed to give me information worth at least as much. I thought, but then I realized that I was getting my information from the informant, so it didn't matter how drunk Oishi was. It was nothing I could complain about, but I still felt slightly riled up. Oishi and the informant, it was no doubt a fake name, but he introduced himself as Sato, led survey deeper and deeper into the back streets of the market district. Even though the market was bustling, a couple of turns off the main street and you were in a desolate alleyway. Oishi started climbing a set of stairs on the side of a seedy building. Why does he call everything seedy? I don't, like, he said that like 4 times since we started the game, and I've not heard that word ever before. D rank is getting to the end of the level within the time limit, killing every enemy, and reaching level style requirements. Also, it's basically S rank, but called other, like differently. It's basically perfectly running a level. There wasn't any sort of signage, so I couldn't tell if the place was open or if it was even a store at all. Don't worry. Oh.
Don't worry, this isn't a dubious place.
Those words coming from Oishi's mouth had absolutely no credibility. That's a sound I know. I've heard that before. I'm gonna sit down again. Kiriko, you okay? What are you doing? Kiriko, no. Good kitty, good kitty, good kitty. Yes. Sorry, I was worried that she'd get stuck under my PC while the table goes down. Because she's playing down there. You okay, honey? His seedy demeanor gives away his inclination to seedy tendencies of his own seedy personality. Can we stop with the seedy talk, please? He already... I'm not gonna make that pun. Okay, I'm gonna make it. He already succeeded in planting his seed. That felt... Nah. Can I take that back? I don't know what came over me. Beyond the door was thankfully a typical mahjong parlor. Don't look at me like that. Hey, come on, it's true, right? I was relieved that it wasn't the sort of suspicious place I had to be on my guard about. Welcome, welcome. Oh, Oishi-san, it has been a while. Want to join in? There'll be a free spot soon. No, I'm here with the group today, so it's fine. Oh, sorry to keep you waiting. Mahjong is a game played with 4 people. It seems that a middle-aged man who was going to be our 4th had already arrived and was waiting for us. Dude, I don't think there's actually an informant here. Oishi just wanted the mahjong buddy. Someone make a quote. I'm not gonna tell you how to make it because then you're just gonna make it. I think it's just exclamation mark quote. But don't quote me on that. I'm 31 years old. I get to make dad jokes. Yeah, like and then put like the text behind it. Here we go. Oh, good. You're late, Kurado. I was just thinking of going home. Oishi made an excuse for why he had taken so long. Oh, that's his first name, right? Eventually realizing that I was a new face, the other man grew interested.
That's Akasaka-san. He's a rookie who came all the way from Tokyo on assignment. They have high hopes for him.
Okay. I know what voice Kratos is getting.
Boy, can you play mahjong?
Well, I played a bit when I was still a student. Dude, now the quotes are flying. What the hell is a glaunch? Sato and the old man cackled in unison. Their plot to sucker me out of my money was painfully obvious.
I thought you'd be a bit tired from your assignment, leaving you on edge all the time.
Oh, fuck. I am tired.
So I thought I'd give you a night to cleanse your spirit.
I know asking this now might be stupid, but we are police, aren't we?
Well, let's not talk about that. Loosen up a bit, but we won't actually gamble anything. We're just deciding who's going to pay for everyone to go play at a very nice place afterward.
Go play? At what kind of place would you be doing that? Without reservations, the three of them started suggesting places like cabarets, high-class clubs, and even brothels. At the very least, they were the type of places that you couldn't go to with money that was just for funsies. What kind of quote did you guys dig up there? That's in Super Meat Boy, so it makes sense. The game drains everything out. That's true. If it happened in Super Meat Boy, I am allowed to say anything I want. That game was horrifying. Oish-san took all my money the other day. I also have work to do, so I can't stay for long.
Then all you have to do is win. If you win, then you won't have to pay for this table, and you can talk to Kurado about work or whatever.
No matter what happened, it seemed like they were intent on playing Mahjong for free. I would also have to fasten my resolve a bit. If I was going to be underestimated like this forever, it was going to get in the way of my work. I understand, then I'll play with you guys just for a bit. If I win, you guys don't get any of the money or get to go to any of those dirty places, and we talk about work right away. Where'd the J Gaming quote come from, huh?
Yeah, bring it on. If I win, we're headed straight to the Blue Mermaid on Flower Road. This old lady here likes that place too. Of course, we're gonna hop between all the places where they keep the girls coming. Akemi-chan! What about you, Sato-san? I'd prefer a place where we can drink quietly. Like a nice, quiet place with a bunny girl. The last time we went drinking, you pulled the tail right off of that bunny girl, didn't you? Didn't you end up having to pay for that? The owner stared at the bottle. The owner started a bottle of Dom Perignon on my tab and called it a tailoring fee. What a lively table this was. I could tell the other customers were glaring at us while we loudly continued our crude conversation. Speaking of which, the fact that they assumed I was the same was a bit disheartening. Yeah, you guys should, like... you should stop. Also, I can look up who made which quote. Most of the time, but for that quote 13, it just said deleted account. So I have no idea who that was. Oishi had taken all the money I'd bought, so everything I had left was out of my own pocket. In addition, there wasn't that much left of that either. If I kept on hanging around like him like this, through his goading, my wallet would disappear into the night. I had to somehow win and return the conversation to my job. But these people, no matter how you looked at it, were pretty good. Sorry. Yukie. Please don't make us actually play.
It's the music. Oh. We had the chance to not have a single club activity in this game. And the author said no. We're having adult club activities in this one. What's the mass gamble again? I think it's heist. I don't know if we got enough people for that though. Kiriko, can you stop? What are you even doing? Take your mouth away from that. Can you not be a normal for 1 second? Why are you even eating that? Is chapter 4 liked a lot? I don't know. I think the later chapters are liked more overall. But I think that the most liked one overall was 5. I think. Don't quote me on that. The hell is Stinkler doing? Is Stinkler trolling me? Is he maybe mad at me for something? I don't know. Kiriko. Yeah, wait a second. Dude. Join the heist? Everybody should join the heist. True. I'm gonna join the heist. I think I can. Damn, Dinkler is ditching me today. I joined the heist.
No. Well then, I'll just call Richie here.
Well, the old man and Sato-san probably won't fall for this silly Richie. I wonder if Akasaka-kun will spit out what I need.
At any rate, Kurado's hand is probably holding something like that, huh? In that case, this one ought to go through.
I got something to show you and I gotta get it done. Okay. Sure. I have a good one. Have fun with whatever you're doing, man. Yep. Okay. Real question though. We're gonna do something real quick. I'm making a poll. Voice this. Don't. Do we start poll? I want to know if you want me to voice the whole thing, because this is going to take ages, or just read it down quickly. Because these games, these club activities as they call them, they rarely offer anything worth it and take like half an hour and make people fall asleep. Despite the music that I still think is great. I love the piano. This is actually a super cool song. It just carries so many bad memories. Oh, I misunderstood. What did you misunderstand? I stand by my bad vote. Okay, I'm just gonna read it down quickly because I think most people would want that, even if Dr. Silva misunderstood. Blah 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 blah. Okay, we already read that. Oh ho, the old man's pretty good. He's quietly trying to use one of my save tiles to complete his hand, isn't he? It seems that Akasaka-kun has at least learned the ropes when it comes to guarding against someone's Riichi, but that will be his downfall. Wait, whose perspective are we even reading from now? What's wrong, boy? Would you hurry up and discard? If you're not sure, anything that Kurado already thrown away should be safe, no? Oh, Akasaka-kun is really fretting over this one. It was glaringly obvious that he had a safe tile to discard, but he didn't want to throw it away because it would move him farther from completing his hand. Everybody that doesn't understand how Mahjong works, you are probably having the best time of your life right now. They're so nice when they're young and innocent. Come on, hurry up and throw out the kicker. If he gave the winning tile, we'd be headed to an establishment where I could do with... I gotta read this properly. This is Oishi, right? If he gave me the winning tile, we'd be headed to an establishment where I could do with all sorts of licking and sucking. If he gives the old man his winning tile, we'd be headed straight to the place with maids and bloomers. Okay, this will go through, right? He looked up as he hesitantly threw out a tile that was, too bad. Hey now, that's a dangerous tile, you know. Kurado, does that go through? Yeah, it will. It seems like this time you were lucky, but as long as the round kept going, I could still win off the draw. What the hell, Dr. Silver? No! Oh, the heist failed. All because Dingler didn't join. But after that, Akasaka-kun managed to luckily avoid throwing any bad tiles, and somehow the round managed to end without anybody completing a hand. Tenpai, Tenpai, no 10. Sato-san had keenly anticipated that two players were in Riichi and had decided to play it safe. What a cool-headed way of playing. Now let's see, what kind of a hand did Akasaka-kun have? When the round ends with nobody winning in Mahjong, anybody in Tenpai has to show their hand. But if you're not in Tenpai, you have no obligation to reveal it. Your average beginner would normally show their hand even if they weren't in Tenpai, and start a commotion about how if this tile or that tile came, they would be in Tenpai. But he didn't. Being stingy? How'd you do, boy? Come on, show me. Sato-san reached over to flip the hand that Akasaka-kun had casually placed face down. Dingler failed the club activity. True! That is actually true. What the hell is this? He was nowhere near Tenpai. Was Akasaka-kun totally bad at this after all? Mufufu? Right then, as the old man compared the tiles from Akasaka-kun's hand to the discard pool, a puzzled expression crossed his face. Boy, you were in Tenpai right around here, weren't you? Why'd you break your hand? The higher monster tiles suddenly got more valuable, so I held them back. Even though the chance they were safe tiles had increased with respect to Oishi-san's Riichi, it would have been safer to read the discards, but there was a player who went out of their way to keep the tiles out of play. Oh, so Kurado's Tenpai was no good from the start, in other words. If it wasn't such a high-level trap, I would have thought that you were waiting for me to throw out the winning tile. But the more concerning thing is that you were in Tenpai and didn't say anything. When did you realize I was in Tenpai? Around here, you throw out 4 tiles in a row immediately. At first I thought you were just discarding redundant tiles, but I noticed you glancing over at me and realized you were waiting for something. This is so high level I can't. Akasaka-kun, Akasaka-san, when did you first start playing Mahjong? Why are you adding quotes? What, am I missing something? Oh, the licking and sucking. How did you do it at the same fucking time? And the same fucking quote as well, with the same spelling and everything, to the point where it got added as a single quote. You guys are so in sync, it's unbelievable. I have noticed. I forgot you were streaming today. Yeah, I forgot to post it last night. What happened? Licking and sucking. I never did expect in high school and university. Now let's continue. Since Sato-san wasn't in Tenpai at the round ended without a winner, then I'm next, right? The next stealer. It seems like Akasaka-kun was really aware of how the game flows. We thought we were just going to eat him alive, but it looks like that isn't going to be so easy. Is that us? Why is our mouth so weird? Why do we look like we're drugged? Oi-san, looks like you're going for the bamboo tiles. Should I put some in play? I'm gonna listen to you while I play Rivals. Have fun, man. Objection! I haven't played that in a long time. I should play Ace Attorney again. That was nice. This boy. Kurado, don't back down. As long as I get 3 more good tiles. Sato-san, think you can do it? Damn it. I'll just force you to go for the cheap Tanyao. Chi. A straight? Well, sorry, I'm going to pawn that tile. Whoa, now going for a 3 of a kind after he declared a straight, trying to override and interfere? Well, you're getting pretty used to this. Oh no, I couldn't even compare to you guys who have been playing since before I was even born. That's game. Ron. Triplets, 2 red Dora, and 3 more Dora. I'm the dealer, so this will cost you quite a bit. Gah! Nah! Kasaka-san, nice job. Now we'll have to get serious, won't we? Well, can you get serious about handing over your points? I'm tired, so let's end this quickly. Akasaka-kun? This is somehow unreal. Before I could realize it, there was an ominous cold air emitting from beneath Akasaka-kun's feet. How blasé. The 2, 5, and 8 Manzus are laughing at you. Damn it, boy, you... Kurado, finish it. You have to end the boy's turn as a dealer. I hate to admit it, but that seems to like the best option. There it is. Ron, simple straights, 1 Dora. Sorry, head bump. Ron, straight. A head bump? You damn brat. Brat? So you play that sloppily against the brat? Guess that means you're worse than a brat yourself. It's so interesting the way you guys call people things like brat and boy. Akasaka-kun, that is you, isn't it? It feels like you're a totally different person. You thought that I, being a sucker, would let you drink some good booze tonight. Seems that you were a little off the mark. Ron, triple straight, red Dora, and another Dora. Whoa, he actually did it. That's what I'm saying, you guys are slacking. No matter how you look at it, you haven't been able to read such an obvious 3-way weight. Akasaka-kun chuckled as he rested his chin in his hands. That pose was so fitting, it was almost scary. Hey Kurado, this isn't what we discussed. Who the hell said that he was a naive sucker ripe for the picking? Who could it be? Oishi-san, this is bad. If he keeps going like this, we're seriously going to lose. Akasaka-kun, for you to make me get serious. Looks like you really want me to be milked dry. Pawn, pawn. That sounds nice. One more time. Pawn. Akasaka-kun was almost singing at this point. The tiles he had opened were all pin tiles. You can't be serious. Are you really going for the flush? Pawn. Boy, are you right in the head? You've opened 4 sets. You only have 1 tile left, you know. That's right. Did you know? Waiting on a single tile is the hardest thing to read. Are you an idiot? With that much of your hand revealed, you don't think we'd give you a tile you need, do you? No, I know what you're doing, Akasaka-san. That's not a flush or a half flush, is it? The fact that you call pawn 4 times means you're already in position for an all-triplet hand. Right now, you're far and away in the lead. You're trying to show a flush and goad us into giving you triplets, aren't you? If that's what you think, want to try throwing out some pins? I'm getting so tired here. The left 5 tiles in your hand, Oishi-san, they're the pin tiles you're reluctant to throw away, aren't they? Why don't you try discarding them in order from the left? You must be joking. Is he a mahjong god? If not, he had to be the main character of a manga or something. Technically. At that moment, the old man sent me a sign under the table. The message was simple and clear. Kurado, do it. Crush him. I don't like to cheat against kids like this. Idiot! After being disrespected like that, we can't pull back now. Well, I'm not responsible for what happens, you know. Go ahead. Here we go, boy. Ricci. We'll go open. I'm waiting for a 1, 4, or 7 of pins. Most likely the tile that Akasaka-kun was waiting was one of those tiles. With this, Akasaka-kun was no longer capable of winning the hand. When I drew from the wall, I switched out the tile that Akasaka-kun would draw. The tile that I put in was the 1 pin. One of the tiles that the old man was waiting on. Akasaka-kun discarded it a little while ago, so there was no threat of it being the one he needed. Come on, it's your turn, boy. I knew he was troubled that the tile he drew was the 1 pin. Of course, you couldn't discard it. Boy, you must be aware, but if you discard into an open Ricci, it's worth the limit, you know? You don't have to tell me that. The tile then that came from Akasaka-kun's hand was an honor tile. Woo, and that's something. There's only 1 north wind tile left, isn't there? You were counting on a really rough wait, weren't you? But with this, Akasaka-kun's fate was decided. Heh, brat. You were lucky you were safe. But your hand only has a single tile. You think you'll be able to run away the rest of this round? Heh. Hello, Kiriko. Hail. Yeah, Duck, I feel you. I feel you. Just remembered something. How do you guys feel about the Oblivion remake? I haven't really looked into it that much, but from the few screenshots that are around online, I think it looks good. Like, really good. But I also haven't played the original. So, I don't know. I will play the remake, especially if it drops on Game Pass. He's just winning back all the money he gave to the informant. I'm sure he's gonna win more because he's the main character and he's cool. So it's gonna be like that. Akasaka-kun glared at the old man with a discerning eye. This guy had pretty good instincts. Did he figure out we were cheating? Let's stop this. Akasaka-kun is a step or two ahead of us. Oh, you think we can stop after we've come this far? Next, make him draw it. The next tile Akasaka-kun would draw was the 7-pin. With that, it would be settled. No matter which one he discarded, he'd play right into the old man's hand. An unavoidable full payout. Yeah, Kiriko, you were also tired. When I drew my tile, I sneakily swapped Akasaka-san's. Achoo! Crash. What? Akasaka suddenly sneezed, collapsing the wall of tiles in front of him. Hey, what are you doing? Oh, sorry, I accidentally knocked over the wall when I sneezed. There's a penalty for that, right? I'm the dealer, so 4,000 to everybody? Or should I pay a deposit? Wahahaha! Unable to hold back, I guffawed. Akasaka-kun, knowing he was going to be cornered a second time and unable to escape, he took the drastic measure of knocking over his own wall. You're good, boy. To get away from a full payout like that. Gahahaha! Oishi-san, could you not bother putting me in such an obvious trap? If we were at Baba, this would have been the point where I flipped the table. Oh, no. Sorry. I underestimated you. For some reason, you're really good, aren't you? Answer me honestly. You got a lot of experience when you were younger, didn't you? You played quite a bit around Waseda and Takanadobaba. I don't know what those are. The place I frequented banned me for winning too much. I made the woman who would become my wife pretty angry, so I washed my hands of it all. So he was a gambling addict. Raised the stakes too high? How much were you playing for at the time? It depends on who I was playing with, but I had an almost perfect record playing in Kabukicho. Especially since when I played against a certain crowd, my life was on the line. 20 times? What kind of stakes were those? Did you have Yakuza at your table? Or pro baseball players? What's this? Kurado, you buffoon! Where did you pull this guy from? He's practically a professional. I give up. Yes, Kiriko, I also give up. Jeez, boy, it's your win. I surrender. Thank you very much. It was an honor. Nahahaha. Oh my, Akasaka-san, your personality really changes when you play. Why do you even have a day job? You'd have no problem living as a freelancer. To be a pro mahjong player, you need both talent and luck. I didn't have anything like that supporting me. Luck is luck. With somebody of your skill, I think you'd be able to make it pretty far. Normal luck doesn't cut it. Calling a con, and 1 time out of 3, you can aim to win on the extra draw with 4 Dora. That kind of luck. Akasaka-kun, if you can judge something like that, you're already bordering on the supernatural. No, there's plenty of people who can do that without cheating or superpowers. There was the person I met in Shinjuku who would get Doras every time you blinked. He was as strong as a demon. There was a pro I played with in Yokohama who would draw the tile he needed immediately after calling Ricci like it was an everyday thing. I don't have that kind of luck. What type of folks were those? They weren't named Ryu or Satoshi by any chance. Wait, Satoshi? Isn't that the Sadako's brother? Well then, is it alright if I'm declared the overall winner then? Yeah, we totally lost. Mufufu. I lost. It's been a while since I lost this big. Still, when you were playing, boy, you were pretty into it. It was kind of scary. I hear that a lot. I don't mean to change gears like that though. Did I really look that scary? Yup. The 3 of us nodded emphatically in agreement. So that was Akasaka-kun, the mahjong prodigy. Before he goes home from his assignment, maybe I could have him go play at a high-stakes table in my place. But it's not good. Get greedy, nufufu. Well, then nothing for it. It was a promise. We'll break up our little late-night study group right now. Sorry about this, old man. That's it for tonight. Nothing you could do. I'm going home to sleep. My body won't last like this. I feel like that every single day of my life. Problems at work. And now we're back. And I'm taking a break. I need to pee. I'm sorry, but I really need to pee. I'll be back very soon. I'll even put on some quiet music for you guys so you don't get too bored. I'll see you in a minute. Okay. I was away. I'm back. I hope there's even someone still here because holy shit. This was horrible. I am sorry. I woke up. What happened so far? Akasaka is really good at mahjong. End.
Oh, he's the foreman of the primary construction site at the Hinamizawa Dam. He's butting heads with the residents every day. It's a rough business.
Around next year, I might be in charge of the second side as well. Wait, is he the guy that gets cut up? Isn't the foreman the guy who gets dismembered? I heard that Kuroda-san was pissing blood. He won't hold out much longer.
You'll be alright, old man. Your skull's thicker than it looks.
I'm not exactly a saint, you know. There's times that just make my blood boil. I especially can't stand dealing with that bratty daughter of Sonozaki's. I think one of these days I'm going to rearrange her face.
No. At least the pay is good, right? I heard the wages were pretty exorbitant.
Of course they are. If the pay was cheap, nobody would hang around that god-awful job. Hey, Kurado, exactly when are the police going to tell all the villagers to shove off? There'll be a notice of eviction from the government, right?
Maybe. I wonder what will happen.
The old man who identified himself as a foreman of the Hinamizawa Dam spewed a few complaints until he felt better about it, then left quietly.
Well then, let's go. I'll leave the rest to Sato-san.
Oishi-san, are you going home?
If I'm here, I'll just be in the way, won't I? Besides, the one who bought Sato-san's services was you. I didn't pay for my share.
Oishi-san was kind of sketchy, but he was strangely conscientious about some things. I felt a bit I felt quite a bit of a gap between myself and Oishi's generation from that part of him I didn't comprehend. Then, boy, no, I can't call Mr. Mahjong here boy no more. Is Akasaka-kun alright with you? Yes. Then, Akasaka-kun, shall we go?
Well then, Akasaka-san.
VoidR, if you're having any trouble, you can count on me anytime. I don't have any more money to pay you, you know that? Kai, if you go easy on me next time, we'll be even. Oishi, seemingly still not having had his fill of playing around, but without overstaying his welcome, disappeared into the night. Was this the worst, the single worst portion of any Higurashi game we've played so far? Because I think so. This nearly broke me. This was worse than the club activities, because the club activities at least had like characters we care about and not random spriteless man A and B. Oh my god. Oh, it felt like the writer learned nothing from his first 3 games there. I'm gonna be real, this was horrible. Okay. The informant named Sato-san had me get into his car before he set off. He favored narrow roads and made numerous short left turns. I wouldn't trust this guy, by the way. Checking if we're being followed. Yeah, you know a lot about this. Checking to see if you were being tailed by making left turns was a rather classic technique. If it was just a single pursuer, you could confirm it that way. But if you were being tailed as a team, this archaic method wouldn't let you shake them. Of course, doing it anyways was better than not. I didn't hear anything from the boss as to who you are, Akasaka-kun. Related to the police? If you're familiar with checking or being tailed, the only other possibility I can think of is something like a private detective. If it's not something I have to say, I'd like to refuse to answer that question. My, ever since we played Mahjong, you seem a lot more mature. I wonder where that hesitant person went from when we first met. I smiled wryly. Looking back now, I had to be a little grateful for being made to play Mahjong. Thanks to that, I was able to relieve some tension. Eventually, Sato-san, confirming that there were no cars following us, slipped outside the city. We were on pitch-black country road, unable to see anything besides the lights outside. The only things I was able to hear were the hum of the car's air conditioning and the chirping of insects and frogs. I heard from the boss that you wanted to hear a bit about Hinamizawa Village. Hinamizawa Village. Yeah? Like about the old houses known as the 3 families who control the place, or that right now it's pretty much the Sonosaki family running things? If you know that much already, I'll cut out the introductions. Then, if you would, can you confirm or deny if the Onigafuchi Guardians is involved with the kidnapping of Minister Inukai's grandson? Sato-kun checked the rearview mirror one more time to confirm there wasn't anybody behind us before speaking. Last night, the Sonosaki main house held a family council. Did you hear about it from the boss? No. If it was a normal meeting, then it would just be all the relatives coming together over a nice cup of tea or something. But a family council held by the main house isn't quite so relaxed. A family council held by the Sonosaki main house? That would be a meeting between those who truly controlled Hinamizawa Village. They wouldn't be talking about private family matters. It would be about the village as a whole. About organizing activities against the Dem project. Among other things, everything would be decided here. In reality, they were deciding the fate of the village. Who the fuck is that? Oh, is that the old lady? At the head of the meeting was Oryo Sonosaki. more or less called Empress Sonosaki as the ultimate decision maker of the clan. She was to be feared and respected, and also cremated because she looks whole. She ain't long for this world, dude. Infirm with old age, she was often unable to stand on her own, but her words carried enough weight to sway the fate of the village. It seems that lately she had grown weak, and on days where she wasn't feeling well, remained bedridden. Let me just think for a second here. So this plays like 5 years before the actual games, right? Before the normal story. And it says now that she, Oreo, was already on the brink of death 5 years ago. So we've got two possibilities here. Either she actually survived for the full 5 years and everything is as we think, but what if she's already dead? Like, what if she's not even alive in any of the games that we have played so far, in any of the stories that we know, and someone is just posing as her and giving orders? Why am I saying this? Because let's say she dies like right here, and all of the orders regarding the anti-dam stuff and the abductions and the killings in the village, they all were supposedly coming from her, right? So what if they're not? Get what I'm saying? Just a quick thought that potentially could affect the story. We don't know. The only time we actually heard anything about her was from Mion, or in the second game when we heard that her corpse was found in the well, but I don't think they addressed how long it had been down there. From whom? Well, there's a bunch of people. Potentially Mion, or even Shion, technically. What if Shion is actually the one behind everything? We don't know. Somebody we haven't even met yet, Tomitake, or Takano, maybe even Oishi. Like, what if Oishi is actually the one giving out the orders and is the evil dude, but he's using his job as cover, and he's basically playing double agent? We don't really know, but there are potentially a decent number of people that could be like the antagonist here. Maybe it's Rika. Family councils that occurred while she wasn't feeling well took place with her on the floor. Okay, that sounds way funnier than it probably is. In the middle of a dignified Japanese-style room, still in a futon, only the upper half of her body sitting upright, a stern look on her face. That was Oreo Sonosaki. Why does she look so mad, bro? Sitting next to her was her heir, Mion Sonosaki. She was still young. No, young wasn't quite the right word. She was a girl who remained childish. Her role was to merely sit beside Oreo Sonosaki, sometimes responding to her requests. However, she was the only one deemed worthy to succeed Oreo. She had the same hawkish eyes, enough to give pause to anybody who so much as looked at them. Much was expected of her in the future as this granddaughter of the Sonosaki's leader. And also, on either side of her, sat several important members of the remaining three families, the Kimiyoshi family and the Furuta family. First on the list for the Kimiyoshi family was of course the mayor of Hinamizawa village, Kiichiro Kimiyoshi, and lined up beside him were several more of his direct relatives. Opposite of them sat the other says the other of the three families, the Furude family. The Furude family was only comprised of the family of a Shinto priest, so the only ones sitting there were said priest, his wife, and their daughter Rika. Rika was doted on by many of the older folks in the village, and it seems that Oreo was no exception. While the stress from just attending a family council was said to be enough to shorten your lifespan by 3 days, it seemed like Rika was the only one exempt from that. No matter how charged the atmosphere was around her, she paid it no mind, instead humming along as she doodled in a sketchbook. In fact, the night before, lying on her stomach, while humming and doodling, she nonchalantly tucked her legs into Oreo's futon like it was a kotatsu. All this was the three families. This doesn't sound too bad to me, honestly. It just sounds like a family gathering of a few, like, not super nice people. And all around the room, lined up row upon row, were relatives of the Sonosaki family. The only ones who were afforded cushions to sit on were direct relatives. The others were left to sit on the in the side-sub position directly on the tatami mats. With Empress Sonosaki enshrined at their center, they were almost like a giant snake coiled around the room. It was decided that everybody would sit in order of their rank. The number of people from the Sonosaki family was overwhelming. The fact that the Sonosaki family held so many seats at a meeting where everything pertained to the village was decided made determining where the balance of power sorry. Oh god. Was held in the three families as clear as day. I'm still feeling the effects from the mahjong. The number of members in attendance from each of the families directly reflected how much influence they had in ruling Hinamizawa. What was talked about at that meeting? Sato-san, after remaining silent for a while, quietly began to speak. Alright.
Wasn't a monetary gift of appreciation to the media a little large?
Breaking the long moment of silence was the head of the Kimiyoshi family. The Onigafuchi Guardians wasn't a business. They were nothing more than a private organization pushing for the cancellation of the Hinamizawa Dam project with no reliable source of income. I don't think that's really true because they could probably just steal. Like, they're doing illegal stuff already, so why wouldn't they just steal money? I don't see the problem there. Fundraising had always been a problem. When they first started operating, they had managed to collect a sizable amount of funds through donations, but as the conflict dragged on, that amount was steadily declining.
This isn't an era where you can get what you want by just throwing rocks. It's very important you don't underestimate the power of the media, and we want to borrow some of that down the road.
The expressions of the people related to the Sonosaki family were sullen. As the one who suggested that they should borrow that power was the family head, Oreo Sonosaki. The battle wasn't just about force of arms. In this civilized age, there were civilized methods of fighting. Oreo suggested that creating a strategy incorporating the mass media. Oreo's foresight was spot on, and the effects of that plan, while at first unclear, slowly began to manifest. If the physical confrontation at the construction site was meant to delay progress on the dam by even 1 day, then the propaganda war using the media was aimed at attacking the dam project itself. At first, there were those who had doubts about that strategy, but there was nobody now who called those results into question. But in order to maintain those media ties, a colossal amount of money was required. As long as the amount of funds they had was abundant, things would turn out fine. It couldn't be argued that it was a massive expense, but the results spoke for themselves. But with the conflict continuing to drag on, the circumstances had changed. The head of the Sonosaki family, no, the one who sat at the pinnacle of the Hinamizawa's three families, Oreo, had suggested the idea herself, so it was already untouchable and continued to be allowed to drain from the budget. Nobody acknowledged that it should be so allowed, but nobody could say anything. That was the price of dealing with the mass media.
What do you think, Oreo-san?
The only person who could object a plan proposed by the head of the Sonosaki household herself was probably Mayor Kimiyoshi. Oreo, which had a hard-to-define expression on her face, as if she had severed herself from the fetters of mortal emotion, simply listened quietly to Kimiyoshi's words. But really, it was hard to tell if she was quietly listening or didn't even have the intention of listening at all.
Last year, we went through a lot of trouble getting people to wrap their heads around the price hike on the bulletins we were putting out. We convinced them it was just one time. It just wouldn't do if we had another one this year. Right, Furuta-san?
The mayor looked to the priest and his wife from the Furuta family for affirmation. The priest gave a vague expression, avoiding a prompt response, but his wife gave her answer without a second thought.
That's right. The cost of the bulletins are a particularly harsh burden for the poorer families. Everybody is dealing with it for the sake of the village, but it's best if we don't increase the prices anymore.
The bulletin was, as its name implied, a bulletin published by the Onigafuchi Guardians. It outlines the Alliance's activities, ideals, and resolve, but you couldn't deny the contents were rather piecemeal. That bulletin's main goal wasn't to inform people, but rather was something to sell to businesses and people living in the village or connected to it, and using those sales to collect funds. In other words, it had become something of a tax. Of course, it didn't have to be said that this was one of the main sources of income for the Onigafuchi Guardians. Originally, purchase was supposed to be voluntary, but in Hinamizawa it had silently become the opposite. That is so weird. In the neighboring towns as well, it seemed that many businesses were buying copies just to avoid butting heads with the Alliance. So basically, this borderline Yakuza group puts out a newspaper about their activities that nobody even interests, like that nobody is interested in. But because they're Yakuza, everybody is quietly forced to buy it. Who has a biggest dingus? When did I even say that? I don't remember that quote. I don't know what game it was from either. The priest whispered to his wife not to say anything unnecessary, but was struck down decidedly with a cold glare. Cowering from that glare, the priest shut his mouth. The priest's wife always held the power in their relationship. I know that feel, brother. I feel you. I feel you. That was because she was the one who carried the Furuta bloodline. The priest merely married into the family. He was nothing more than somebody who adopted the name just to join the three families. Well, that's a dark way to see it. He should have been able to find a spot fairly high up in the hierarchy of things, but the lack of authority in his voice meant that he had still not gained any favor. Casting a backwards glare at her rather disparate parents, Rika continued to doodle whimsically without paying them any mind. Signaled by the look from Oreo, Mion brought her ear closer to her grandmother. There was something said to her in a quiet voice. After responding with a couple of questions with a nod from Oreo, Mion looked around the room and conveyed her grandmother's words. Look, that daddy thing is a BioShock specific thing. We can't bring that into Higurashi. It has nothing to do with that.
There will be no freeze on the price increase for the bulletin. Kimiyoshi made a face like he had just bit into something unpleasant, but that expression quickly disappeared like it had never happened at all. Yeah, it's not baby, but it's small Mion. I think she looks cute, but I don't know. I know how she usually looks, so seeing that this is like seeing the kid version of your girlfriend. It's kind of weird. Pinch her cheeks hard, dude. No. If we do that, we're gonna get killed. But Mion-chan, I think you already know this, but the cost of the bulletin is by no means easily affordable. It's a burden carried by everybody in Hinamizawa. If we make people carry too much of that burden, it's possible we'll collapse from the inside.
And who on the inside would start to collapse?
Who? I didn't mean it like that.
I'm asking who would be the first to buckle.
Being cross-examined by a girl who still had fragments of childishness remaining within her, the words stuck in Kimiyoshi's throat as he sunk into silence. He just got shot down by a 3-year-old. I'm gonna play Schedule 1. What is Schedule 1? Never heard of that, but have a good time. Mion repeated her question once more, looking around the crowded room. Everybody refrained making eye contact to avoid being pierced by her gaze. Great game, by the way, recommended. Can you link it in the Discord or something? The words she had spoken were unarguably said in proxy for Oreo. That's why when Mion spoke, they carried the same weight. But the look in her eyes was different. Like Oreo's, they had a hawkish gaze, strong enough that anybody looking upon them would freeze in their tracks and yield. But that gaze was without question one that belonged to Mion herself. As Mion would eventually inherit everything from Oreo, the day when she would stand up as a young and capable leader in her own right would come. Nobody wanted to believe otherwise for even a minute. That's why nobody even thought of Mion as just some sort of little kid.
Kimiyoshi-san, nobody will lose their resolve over something like a price hike on the bulletin.
Kimiyoshi, while grumbling a little bit, made a gesture as if to say he had no objection.
The expenses related to the mass media will continue. If those expenses become too much, we'll have no choice but to continue the price hikes.
Mion had rendered her judgment. Everybody bowed their heads, silently listening to her words.
In the name of Mion Sonosaki, as acting head of the Sonosaki family, I hereby declare that all this shall be effective immediately. There shall be no objections, and any opposition shall be removed by force.
The formal decree was read aloud, indicating her judgment. Why is child smart? Because she grew up that way. You gotta read them good. No, like, that was my German brain because, okay. Can we cut that out? Thank God not a lot of people see these streams. I'm just gonna move on with the next. There would be no retrial. But there was a certain authority behind those words that even a courthouse couldn't compare to. If she was a judge, she would have banged her gavel, signaling that the matter was settled. Mion pulled out a large bell from inside her clothes and rang it. Everybody present could only prostrate themselves before the harsh sound of the bell. This was completely pointless. The whole
You say that, but like one day you're at like 100k subs, there's gonna be one guy clipping you out of context. 100%. If that actually happens, these VODs are always on the channel, right? There's like, if there's at some point somebody out to get me, the only real way I can get out of it is by ducking and just saying fuck it, I don't care for your opinion. Because I say way too much cancelable shit and I don't care. You guys can do whatever you want. You can fight for the right to cancel me. So many Discord screenshots. Nah, there's nothing's going on the Discord, especially not when I'm in a discussion with Dinkler. Nothing at all. Well, that's a rather old-fashioned family council, isn't it? A young guy like you would probably find it hard to believe. In an antiquated place like this, these types of things have firm roots. It was exactly as Oshi had said. The old system of the three families had vanished, and now the Sonosaki family was running things by themselves. On top of that, their rule was borderline despotic. Was that the end of the meeting? No, there's more. I'll continue. Oh god. The biggest problem that I have with this game is it jumps around so much between stuff that's actually happening and stuff that is just narrated, which results in everything feeling kind of disjointed and not like it's one singular story. And that makes it a little bit boring. Also, try not to get me cancelled. Like, let me amass my fortune first, and then once I'm good for the rest of my life, get me cancelled then, okay? Eventually, after the ringing of the bell ceased, there was a deafening silence. Within all of that, a lone man shuffled closer to Mion and whispered something in her ear. Mion asked several questions quietly in response. When she was satisfied, she motioned for the man to leave. The man who talked to Mion was a member of a gang that her father was a leader of. The organization had the entire area of Shishibone City under its control, so it was quite well known even here. Of course, this was talking about the criminal underworld, so it's not like just anybody would know. But just showing a patch with the gang symbol on it was enough to resolve any disputes in the neighborhood. Mion's biological father, Oryo, was her daughter's husband. The power of that man's gang was the driving force that controls the dark underbelly of the Onigafuchi Guardians. And so that man, from his position as the next in line to control the three families, continued to coerce everybody around him with his unconventional presence. Mion exchanged a look with her father. Was it okay for her to tell what she just heard directly to Oreo? It looked like she was asking him a question. Her father gently but firmly nodded in response. Mion also nodded, then sidled up. What? Sidled up? What the hell is that word? Sidled up to Oreo and informed her of something. Eventually, Mion finished conveying her message, separated herself from Oreo, and fixed her posture, waiting for Oreo to signal her response. It wasn't often that Oreo showed any emotion. That's why when she started to laugh quietly, a vague sense of uneasiness crept over everybody in the room. Need to do a Liar's Bar stream? What is that? Why do I not know all the stuff you mentioned? It's quite the conundrum, isn't it? Oreo was laughing so happily that Kimiyoshi had to hesitantly ask. What is it, Oreo-san? If this land is like a mother to us, then this business with the dam is like somebody threatening our mother's life, isn't it? Kimiyoshi, unable to comprehend the meaning of her words, looked confused. Oreo, with a wide grin on her face, turned toward everybody and addressed them in the clarion voice.
The minister behind the dam project is apparently rattled over the kidnapping of his grandson. That makes us even.
That's absurd! The information on the kidnapping of Minister Inukai's grandson shouldn't have leaked from anywhere. How did they know? Even if we didn't know about the kidnapping incident. Exactly how did an antiquated household so far from Tokyo come to know of it? It was a tranquil place, but I couldn't help but have an uneasy feeling about Hinamizawa village. At some point I had mentally filed this place away as unrelated to the incident at hand. That mental paperwork had just blown away in the wind. How did the Onigafuchi Guardians know about that? Sato-san, unable to come up with an answer, fell into silence. I'm sorry. Please continue. Liar's Bar is a game where you can play a card game and die. Where you play a card game and that dice game from Pirates of the Caribbean. I know this isn't what you want to hear, but like I've only seen the very first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and that was like 20 years ago or whenever it came out, so I have no idea what dice game you mean. I'm sorry. Movies aren't my thing. I don't watch movies at all. Also, I gotta stand up again. I'm getting way too tired sitting and just reading this very, very slow moving game. Goodbye. Hello. Okay.
The Minister of Construction's grandson was kidnapped? Oreo-san, is that true?
So, that major of an incident was nowhere to be seen in the newspapers or on TV, but in Hinamizawa, there was nothing strange about Oreo knowing something that the rest of the world didn't.
Our pain is the pain of losing a mother. I don't think it completely makes up for it, but the pain of losing a grandchild. You have to bear with that for a bit, don't you think?
The last question wasn't addressed to anybody in particular. It was as if she was looking for consensus.
Still, land and a human child are different things. I don't mind hiding him here, but I want no harm to befall him. The child isn't to blame. Make sure to keep that in mind.
Oh, so she's not that bad. Like, they're using it as a bargaining chip, but they're not, like, they don't want the kid to come to harm because, like, it's still a kid and, like, a person, so it's more important than their goals. I like that, actually. Gonna have to unsub, watch the movies, then resubmit. Shit. Nah, look, man, movies just take so long. I can't even play a game for longer than an hour straight nowadays because I always have shit to do. And a movie takes at least like 90 minutes of pure time that I have to like put aside, and I'd just rather play games during that time. You know? I don't know, movies just aren't my thing. That means that the Onigafuchi Guardians were involved in the kidnapping?
I can't say for certain.
Why? Even though the leader, Oreo, was clearly giving orders on the treatment of the kidnapped child? Lad, you see, this is what the Sonozaki family always does. Always does? What do you mean by that? Let's say there was a particular problem. One that wasn't exactly favorable for the Sonozaki family. If Oreo shows concern over that particular problem, hearing that somebody who attended the family council would be helpful. As a result, Oreo's wish would be granted. However, neither Oreo nor anybody else would know who actually did it. With this kind of clever little ploy, the Sonozaki family was able to manipulate events even though they had their hands laid out on the table. Okay, so basically, the whole family gathering thing is just a front so that current issues in the village can like be openly addressed, but without like giving direct orders to anybody, so the police and other agencies can't really do anything because nobody knows who among the family actually committed the crime or whatever it is, you know? Since that means somebody who was at the family council was a culprit? Or there's a possibility that there was never a culprit in the first place. Oreo herself in that room full of people didn't explicitly say that somebody pulled off the kidnapping. She was just giving her opinion. It was an odd and unpleasant secretive way of doing things. Were they involved or were they not? I couldn't see beyond the veil. This much, however, I could say with certainty. This kidnapping was an ironclad secret. No matter how high a position somebody was in, even they wouldn't know about it. If there was somebody who would know about it, they would be connected to public safety. In other words, one of us. The only other options were people connected to the case itself, including the ministers. There would be people affected by the incident, or the people that committed it. In any case, there was no way an old household in a place removed from Tokyo by over 6 hours of highway travel should know about it. There's telephones and shit. I don't really think the physical distance really matters in the time period this plays, you know? Them knowing it all was already strange. My suspicions began to accumulate, like falling snow. That's as much as Oreo said in regards to the kidnapping. Hopefully what you wanted to find out was in there. After this, it's up to you. I don't know what kind of work you're doing, but if you're going up against the Sonozaki family, you'd better prepare yourself. Oishi might be fearless, but even he's been attacked 2 or 3 times. He hasn't been wearing it lately, but at one point he was wearing a stab-proof vest while off doing... What the fuck? Okay, that we didn't know that. Oh? Thanks for the warning, I'll be careful. You speak pretty well. Are you from Tokyo by any chance? Huh? What's your point? Investigators were always close to danger. It was best not to divulge any information on myself. Your job. Could you possibly be somebody from the Metropolitan Public Safety Division? I couldn't remain silent here. It would be the same thing as admitting it. Huh? No way! This wasn't accounted for in the money I got from the boss. This wasn't accounted for in the money I got from the boss. But as somebody who played at the same table today, I'll give you this one as a freebie. After Oreo talked about the kidnapping, there was one other topic that came up.
And it was Akasaka. It was like about a cop coming disguised as a civilian to the city. And he's gonna go insane because he knows that every villager he's met, basically the whole village over the course of that day, already knew who he was or what he was. We all know it's gonna happen. Another topic that Oreo brought up? And right before he told me this, Sato-san asked if I was from the Metropolitan Public Safety Division. In other words, what those two things meant caused a chill up up my spine.
Sorry, you say that in order to investigate the kidnapping of the minister's grandson, there's word that there will be an investigator from public safety dispatched all the way from Tokyo. An investigator from public safety? They can't be reckless and make a big deal over the kidnapping, so it seems the Metropolitan Public Safety Division is investigating this on their own. Ain't that grand? What is it?
Rika, who had been drawing the entire time and was completely uninterested in the conversation up until now, looked at Oreo with an interested face as soon as the topic of public safety came up. Did the Metropolitan Police come?
Oh, so Rika-chama knows about the Metropolitan Police Department. That's very admirable.
Who came?
Is there anybody that knows what kind of guy from public safety came here?
Mion's father raised his hand slightly.
I hear that it's a nice young piece of fresh meat.
Fresh meat? Is it nice and tender?
Yes, it is. Fresh meat.
Mion's father smiled wryly as he answered Rika's question. Tender and tasty?
Yeah.
Tender and tasty. Rika smiled with interest. Why did Rika suddenly act interested only when it came to this topic? That was a question that apparently nobody had the answer to.
Does Rika-chama know something about this man?
I don't know. After her rather flat reply, Rika buried herself underneath Oreo's futon again. But when she buried herself there, Rika no longer started drawing again. Instead, she was making an impression, like she was in deep contemplation.
What shall we do about him, mother?
Mion's father posed the question. He had the type of uncouth expression on his face, indicating that, given the order, he could snuff the problem out at any time.
He came all the way to Hinamizawa. Let him take it easy for a little while.
So you're saying to just let him go around as he pleases?
Mion's father asked in response. Oreo smiled thinly as she responded.
Leave him alone. But if he starts causing too much mischief, when that happens, don't hold back. I don't enjoy being taken lightly.
Is what they talked about, apparently. It couldn't be that you were that fresh meat from the Metropolitan Police, are you?
It couldn't be. The sensation of cold, bristling fear began to crawl its way up my back. This family council took place last night. In other words, yesterday. Then today, when I was dressed up as a tourist headed towards Hinamizawa, my cover was already blown? When I remembered the first person I met when I got to the bus stop, I couldn't breathe. The person at the family council who expressed interest in the man being dispatched from the Metropolitan Police, Rika Furude. And then the person who was waiting for me the whole time in the bus shelter, Quack. Alright, see you around, Doug. Thank you for being here. In the bus shelter, Rika Furude. It was an unthinkable image. No, it was a delusion. When we met at the bus shelter, did Rika already know my true identity? I mean, of course she did. Did you know that I was Akasaka, dispatched from the Metropolitan Police Department to come and meet me? Then, including Mayor Kimiyoshi, every villager that I met, everybody knew but just pretended not to? Because Oreo had given instructions not to interfere? Thinking about it logically, it didn't seem possible. I met quite a number of people. If there's people that are good at acting, then there's people who are bad at hiding things. If there was that many people, then that should have been somebody among them who knew I was from public safety and couldn't hide their hostility. However, I didn't feel any presence like that. And what about the boss? But then, even still, why did Oreo tell them to leave me alone? Was it because if they were careless about it, it would only raise more suspicion? Or was it because they believed a rookie like me wouldn't be able to find anything? Akasaka is a coward. I recall that strange voice, which could only make me believe that Rika-chan had been possessed. That unknown entity, no matter how you looked at it, knew my true identity from the get-go. And then, how did it warn me again? That's right, it warned me to hurry up and go back to Tokyo. Instead of the realistic worry that the Onigafuchi Guardians had discovered my identity, the absurd worry brought... The absurd worry brought on by the unknown girl stuck with me more. Fuck, that was hard. What exactly was that girl? What was the thing I would eventually regret? That mysterious girl. Rika Furude. Let's stop this. Everything I was thinking of right now was merely conjecture. Tomorrow, first thing in the morning, I'll report everything I heard right now to HQ and await further orders. There was no mistaking that the possibility the Onigafuchi Guardians were related to this case was there. The fact that my cover was blown meant I was in a precarious position. But as everybody at HQ was already extremely busy, they might not be able to spare the support.
Is that everything? You want, I can drop you off wherever you like.
Ah, sorry. In that case, the station where we originally met, please. A rural road, where even a streetlight was rare. I couldn't see anything. I wasn't aware of anything but the asphalt that was lit up by the headlights. Outside of that light, was it simply darkness? Or was there something lurking there, waiting to strike? I had to think I drew the short straw here. I wanted to go back to Tokyo. For some reason, the voice of the girl warning me to go back to Tokyo still lingered in my head.
So... how do I say this? I mean, what do you guys think of this whole chapter so far? Like this whole game, basically. This is chapter 4 of the game, of the series. Because I don't know, I think this is like the worst one by a decent margin, actually. I don't think it's a bad idea to give more backstory to everything and like approach it from a different time, but I think this game really sells the point that the Higurashi games are very much carried by the characters, and we have none of them here except for Rika. Like, we're missing a lot of the personality that made the first 3 games more interesting, and we're basically just left with the bare writing, which isn't all that great. It also feels like we're going in circles all the time. Like, okay, yes, the info drop that, yes, we now know that the Hinamizawa is somehow involved in the kidnapping. Shocker. And that everybody already knew that he's a cop. Sure, there were new reveals, but it took so long to get there with basically nothing happening in between. This is tough. I gotta say, this is kind of tough. I'm unsure
how that ranks in other people's like rankings for the different games, but so far this is by a good deal, in my opinion, the least interesting one. It'll probably pick up by the end. We should be like halfway through now, I think. Let me check Steam real quick. Yeah. We got, if it's the same schedule as always with these games, we've got 3 more chapter achievements, the finish the game achievement, and the after party achievement. So we basically have like half. We're halfway through, chapter wise. The backstory is okay. I don't think it's bad. I just think it drags out way too long, and it's much easier to notice when Rena and Mion and even Sadako are just completely absent from the story. Right? And I also think that Akasaka is less interesting than Keiichi, because Keiichi's writing has this youthfulness to it. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like he's a kid and he's fantasizing a lot and making conjecture way more than Akasaka, who is a bit more professional. You miss Keiichi? I kind of do. I still think that he's an annoying brat, and a lot of the stuff he does is idiotic, but he's not a bad main character. Neither is Akasaka, he's just less interesting. I had a restless night's sleep. I did nothing but turn over repeatedly during a night that seemed like it lasted for eternity. Even then, I eventually fell asleep at some point, not realizing how high in the sky the sun had risen. I shook off the urge to go back to sleep. It was then that I noticed the phone was ringing. The time was almost 10:30 in the morning. It was clearly too late for a wake-up call.
Akasaka-san, good morning, it's Oishi.
Waking up to the sound of Oishi's voice was little too much of a shock. My delicate ears were ringing. But thanks to that shock, I was suddenly wide awake. Hello. Good morning.
Could it be you just woke up? Even though you're on assignment, it's still not good to be asleep during regular business hours.
You're absolutely right. I'll be more careful in the future.
I have another tidbit that might wake you up even more. There was something interesting mixed in with the lost and found at the Hinamizawa police box.
Lost and found?
Let's leave the details for when you get here. You think you'll be able to make it before noon?
No, I'll be there right away. Oishi already knew what my mission was. Since Oishi said it was something that would wake me up, it was hard to believe that it would be irrelevant to me. Honestly speaking, judging by the information from Sato-san yesterday, knowing that my cover was already blown, I couldn't wander to and from Hinamizawa carelessly. In other words, my investigation was at an impasse. If there was some information that could put me back on the trail, that would be nothing less than the stroke of good luck, good fortune. Yeah, but like, didn't you say you want to leave and report to your officials, like the HQ? You didn't do that, did you? Is this like a plot point? Like, is he gonna get involved even deeper now, and then like in 3 hours he's in super dangerous waters and he's gonna think, oh shit, now if only I had the help from HQ, but nobody actually knows what's going on here. That would actually be fairly smart. After vigorously washing my face, I pulled on my jacket and hailed a taxi, heading towards the Okinomiya police station.
Oh, you're here. The genius mahjong player has arrived.
My apologies for being late. So exactly what popped up. With absolutely no intention of reminiscing about last night's Mahjong game, I pressed him to get to the point. Oishi, anticipating that I would act that way, cut to the chase without any resistance.
Like I said earlier, something arrived from the Hinamizawa police boxes lost and found this morning.
Lost items that were turned over to the police box were sent to Okinomiya Station after the paperwork was filled out. Good night, Dr. Silver. Thank you for sticking around so long. I know it's not the easiest game to sit through, but we're getting there. Thank you. I appreciate it a lot, man. And quack to you as well. Sleep tight. Oishi pulled out a plastic bag from a drawer and laid its labeled contents on the desk. Is that a wallet?
Indeed. There was small change inside, but no bills. We thought that a pickpocket threw it away after pulling out the contents at first.
Let me guess, there's like a school ID from the kidnapped kid in there. I didn't understand how this wallet, so far removed from Tokyo, could possibly be related to the kidnapping. If it had drawn Oishi's attention, it would have to be something dramatic, like if the wallet belonged to the missing grandchild. That would be absurd. Like something that convenient would happen. If that was it, then there were probably initials written on the wallet, like the initials of Toshiki Inukai, the minister grandson, T.I. Thinking like that, at this point I didn't suppose that this wallet was something that could get Oishi excited. Oishi, after putting on a pair of disposable plastic gloves, handed me a pair of the same. I didn't feel that this wallet was such an important thing, so I had my doubts about whether there was any point in putting on gloves. However, I didn't want Oishi's intentions to go to waste, so I put them on. Oishi opened up the plastic bag and pulled it out, showing me the bag. As I had imagined, there were initials engraved there, but it was slightly more detailed than I had thought, with Toshiki E marked on it. Oishi grinned at me with a look on his face that said, "See? We can't confirm that this is a typo, isn't it? We can't confirm that this belongs to the minister's grandson," I informed him calmly. This wallet was irrelevant. It was nothing more than Oishi's overeagerness. First of all, there was absolutely no way, in this distant locale, that the missing grandson's wallet would be found with such convenient timing. After all, the Onigafuchi Guardians wasn't related to the case in the first place. So there was no way this wallet belonged to the grandson. Why I wanted to decide that was the case, even I didn't really know. Even though what should have been a top secret case was leaked before I had even been dispatched. In this situation, how could I say this was definitely unrelated? Would it be more prudent to pay more attention to this wallet? It had only been a couple of days since I arrived in Hinamizawa. But in those couple of days, due to the number of remarkable events, my nerves might have become just a little frayed. Shaking my head slightly, I cleared it off unnecessary thoughts. Oishi opened the wallet zipper, revealing the contents. Inside was small change and a number of crumpled receipts. Oishi, from that jumble, pulled out a folded card. Seeing that, my heart stopped for a moment. It was a card from a dental examination. The name Toshiki Inukai and the age. A perfect match. The dentist's location was in Tokyo. There was no need to explain any further. How far was it from Tokyo to Hinamizawa? It was far enough that taking the bullet trains and cars would still take several hours. Why would a wallet with a dental examination card from Tokyo inside show up in Hinamizawa? Could it belong to a tourist who came from Tokyo? Or maybe a villager on vacation to Tokyo. Why are we talking around this bullshit? Like, seriously, this is the kids. You already know that he's here. Like, you got told last night that he is literally being held by the gangsters, by Mion's dad's Yakuza dudes. What is this? Why are we doing this? Are you in denial? Did you lose your memory overnight? What is going on? I don't get it. Why are we talking around this? I'm sorry, but yeah, I think I woke Kiriko up. Come here. Come here. Come here, honey. Yes. Time is much better spent cuddling with the kitty, right? Than reading this bullshit. Redundant writing, that's what it is. Yes. Are you in the mood for cuddles? Yeah. Why do you look like that? No. You know you're stuck in midair, right? We are standing. What are you gonna do? Come on, I'll help you. Go on the table. There we go. Whoopsie. Now I'm full of cat hair again. Ugh. I got some in my mouth. Okay. We're sitting down again. Yep. Or maybe a villager on vacation to Tokyo just happened to pay a visit to the dentist? Why does my camera sometimes freeze? I don't get that. No, it had to have fallen into somebody's bag by accident. In my mind, I desperately struggled to find a possible excuse as to why this wallet didn't belong to Toshiki Inukai. It was as if it just wouldn't do for this wallet to belong to him. However, weeding out any possibility for error on one by one. The haze surrounding the wallet in front of me faded, gradually letting it come into clear focus. Dude, why am I hicking up now? Say. I felt a shiver of electricity run up my spine. My pulse quickened and a thin film of sweat began to coat my entire body. From Oishi's point of view, I was probably slack-jawed and spaced out with a slovenly look on my face. Did you get information from the dental office?
That's your job, Akasaka-san. I didn't go that far.
When did this wallet show up?
The person who picked it up was a villager. They did so yesterday, it seems.
Not that, I mean. When was this wallet dropped?
It rained here last week, exactly 7 days ago. It doesn't look like the contents are water damaged, so the longest it could be would probably be 6 days.
Does anybody else at this station have knowledge of the existence of this wallet?
The officer who first encountered it at the Hinamizawa Post police box. Kiriko. Okay, Luna was sitting on the letter, and Kiriko just tried to eat it. Different cats do different bullshit, but they all do bullshit. Right? Yeah, you go do your thing. And also the 2 or 3 people in charge of the lost and found. Other than that, it's just me and you. If it's involved in a classified case, it'd be bad to talk about, wouldn't it? I don't intend to wag my tongue.
May I borrow a phone?
Go ahead. Dial 0 to get an outside line.
I dialed the phone number inscribed on the examination card. I could hear my pulse pounding inside my head.
Could there be a possibility? Could there possibly be something so absurd? Yes, there could, because you knew about it like last night already. I don't get what is so surprising about this. It feels so forced. The addresses on the receipts and cards inside the wallet were all from around the area where the grandson lived. The name on the examination card was also a match. The time we deduced that the wallet had been left behind also matched up with the timeline of the kidnapping. Of course, it was possible I could just laugh it off as a big pile of coincidences. No, you can't do that. You're literally a cop looking for someone that matches that profile of the wallet you just found perfectly. Your job is not to brush it off as coincidences. Like, your job is to run the fuck out and go to the spot where it was found, and then do like a field search of that spot to find like the shed or whatever in which the kid is being kept. Am I wrong for being somewhat upset about how he handles this whole situation? Like, I don't know, man. This is just, it feels like he's a bit of an idiot to me. There wasn't any strong evidence. Rather than all this circumstantial proof, the contents of the phone call I was about to make would have much greater meaning. Hello, sorry to keep you waiting. This is Nakagawa Dental Office.
Hello, this is the Okinomiya Police Department. I have a misplaced wallet here and I'm trying to get in contact with the owner. Would you be able to help me? Inside the wallet there was an examination card from your office. Yes, the name is Toshiki Inukai. If I give you the number on the card, would you be able to look up the phone number? Yes, thank you, if you could. Still holding the receiver, I pulled out a notebook from my breast pocket with my free hand. I opened it up to the page with the grandson's address and phone number recorded on it. Yes, hello. Yes, go ahead. I compared the phone number written in my notebook to the one that was being read out on the other end of the line. During that process, I spun around to look behind me uneasily. I locked eyes with Oishi. Oishi looked puzzled, wondering what the matter was. Why would I feel uneasy and look behind me? Why does he hear the bell? Isn't that the sound you hear when you're cursed or possessed by a Oyashiro-sama? I'd be like, I found the kidnapped boy, I'm gonna get a raise. More like, I found the kidnapped boy, I'm gonna get fucking fired if I don't immediately message or contact HQ, which I should have done the moment I woke up. Nobody's getting a raise if the kid dies. They're all just gonna be fired. That was because the person on the end of the line was reading out the numbers as though doing so straight from my notebook. It seems that HQ was in quite an uproar thanks to my report. Well, at least he does report it. Okay, good. No matter how many times the authenticity of the evidence I had linked to the grandson was called into question, I could only respond that it was the truth. When the lead investigator first picked up the phone, I was grilled about the evidence I'd found that was almost too good to be true, if I do say so myself. Are we still alive? Yeah, basically we found out that the kid who was allegedly kidnapped to our search area is actually currently being held in our search area. So, what do we say about that? Oh yeah, the story has just started. Only took us 5 hours. But after having doubt after doubt dispelled, he fell into silence. The receiver was finally handed over to the section chief. When he picked up, the background thrum on the other end of the line disappeared, and I knew that it had gone completely silent.
After asking the same questions about the wallet that the lead investigator did, the chief quietly spoke his next words.
Got it. We'll dispatch several people as reinforcements. They should be able to make it there by evening. Akasaka-kun, please continue with your investigation of the area. Get some information on the spot where the wallet was found. Kano-san will select some people and head directly there.
The fact that he was sending Kano, the lead investigator here, meant that the chief had decided there was a possibility that the Onigafuchi Guardians were somehow implicit in the kidnapping. However, it felt as though until the lead investigator, whom he trusted, had verified the evidence with his own eyes, he was still going to be skeptical about it. Okay, do me a favor before I go take a shower. Can you say a really strong 9? How about I don't do that? Why are you guys all trying to get me cancelled? I'm kind of sad about that, man. Nine. You happy with that? I don't know how I would do it better. What's a zucker? The music is kind of weird, by the way. I'm not sure if I like it. It's perfect. Okay. Alright. How did it go? It seems that HQ is sending reinforcements. I was ordered to investigate the area. Where was the wallet dropped? Around Takatsudo, apparently. This is Okinomiya. All the way over here, this is Hinamizawa. Then even further upstream, way up around here, is Takatsudo. Oishi explained where the wallet was found by pointing to locations on the map on the wall. This place called Takatsudo was even more remote than Hinamizawa was.
There's hardly anybody living in the area around Takatsudo. It was deserted a long time ago. It's littered with abandoned houses, so it's really quite desolate around there.
And nobody ever thought to check these abandoned houses for a potential kidnapping in the area?
I don't know what to say.
Why not? That seems like a good place to hide a kidnapped kid. Maybe. Oishi-san. Could I ask you to guide me to Takatsudo?
Yeah, I don't mind. You can't really get in and out of Hinamizawa as you please by yourself, after all. Of course, I'll have to make you wear the cap and mask again.
That Oishi had agreed to accompany me was very reassuring. If Sato-san's info was to be believed, my cover had been blown. I wasn't sure if the villagers had realized that the fresh meat dispatched from public safety was a tourist that had visited the village yesterday, in other words, me. But deciding that they hadn't noticed would have been overly optimistic. No one there knows about the kidnapping except Oishi? That's not completely true. At least the informant knows. And probably other people as well, because if there is an informant, that means there's like an insider on the family meetings, because otherwise he wouldn't have known. So there have to be at least 4 people that know on the good side, like on the police's side. Then there's all the people that were at the meeting who, yes, all are under the leadership of Sonosaki, but still probably have consciousnesses and shit. So if a few of those heard about kidnapped kids, I'd assume some anonymous tips to the police would happen, as well as just the sole fact that
When somebody finds the lost purse of a kid that absolutely does not check out with the region it was found in, and that purse, the wallet, was also found in a region where like nobody lives, in a deserted region, I'd assume that the local police would do at least a preliminary search, because that sounds like hella sketchy. They're all Yakuza? Are they though? I thought that the family was made up of like a ton of different people, and not all of them are like properly bad. And I don't know, this feels just kind of like dicey. Maybe I'm overthinking this. The Takatsudo area didn't have any residential buildings, nor was it alongside a highway. There wasn't a reason for even the locals to go out of their way to visit it. Or, now that I think about it, if the locals don't have any reason to visit that, why did the wallet even turn up? Is this on purpose? Is this a trap? I think it's a trap. I'm almost convinced it is, because everything just makes way too much sense if you think about it this way. This was on purpose. This was dropped on purpose. This was put in the lost and found on purpose so that Oishi would find it and bring it to Akasaka's attention, so that the police gets mobilized, and I don't know for what reason. But I think it's a trap. I just don't know why. It was exactly what you would call a long-forgotten ghost town at the end of the road. You couldn't ask for a better place to hold a kidnapped grandson. Also, you couldn't get to Takatsudo without passing through Hinamizawa first. Those several conditions made the area all the more important. I couldn't brush it off any longer. There was no longer any doubt that Onigafuchi guardians or somebody hired by them were involved in the kidnapping. If that was the case, then the fact that this wallet was found might have already been leaked to them. They even knew so much as how the public safety division was operating. The case of the wallet couldn't be something they didn't follow or know. In that case, there was a possibility that the enemy was lying in wait. To dive alone into enemy territory surrounded by enemy territory, to say the least, required an amount of courage, nay, recklessness that I just did not have. Without your company, Oishi-san, I wouldn't be able to step into the village so easily. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Honestly, I thought you would ask for more money.
Well, if we're being honest, Hinamizawa isn't exactly a place I like to go to. I'd at least appreciate if you paid for the cab fare. Still, it's not a request I can refuse from a friend that's played at the same table as me.
Oishi grinned as he pounded me on the back. It struck me that he just didn't want to jump ship rather than having any sort of sense of duty towards his job. Even so, that didn't really matter. Right now, I really appreciated the gesture. Well then, shall we hurry up and get going? If the enemy knew that the police had obtained the wallet, then they would probably have moved the hostage to a different place. There wasn't a moment to lose. But Oishi, without regard to the fact that we were about to head out, began to remove his jacket. What are you doing?
Well, just a precaution. If you want me to poke the beehive to get your honey, I have to be rather well prepared, you see. Do you want to put one on too?
Oh. What Oishi pulled out from the drawer below the desk was a stab-proof vest. Smart. I said this before, but Oishi is smart. like one of the few smart characters in this game. His name was Toshiki Inukai, the grandson of the Minister of Construction Inukai. There was only one reason for him being here. If you didn't include gym or art classes, his grades were above average. That was the result of having private tutoring sessions twice a week. If you omitted the fact that he still couldn't do any pull-ups, there wasn't much else that would make him hate school. Of course, he understood full well that his grandfather was a cabinet minister, but he also knew that not too many people were that interested in their relationship. He didn't like to go out of his way to bring up his grandfather or to call him the Minister of Construction. And finally, he at least tried to know a little more about what kind of work the Ministry of Construction did than your average Joe. Speaking of Joe, where's Joe? I haven't seen him all day. I hope he's fine. What that entailed was that when you tried your best to make make life better for the masses, sometimes you made a few enemies. He knew that all too well from the time he'd spent as class representative. His grandfather had many enemies. He knew that he might personally catch some of that fallout, so he had to be twice as cautious. He was taught that by his parents. That's why the moment he was kidnapped, he instantly knew that this was one of those occasions. He understood that he wasn't being treated as Toshiki Inukai the person, but rather as Toshiki Inukai, the grandson of the Minister of Construction. That he wasn't personally at fault, but that this was the result of some unavoidable trouble with his grandfather's work. It made little difference, but when he realized it wasn't because of anything he did, he was able to relax, if only a little. Oh yeah, that relaxes me a lot. I was kidnapped not because I did bullshit, but because of the job of my grandpa. Yeah, that's so much more relaxing, man. I hope I die today so I can really relax. Of course, at first he was struck with terror befitting his age, wondering what was going to happen to him. But after a while of being tied up and only able to stay lying down, he began to ponder a great many things. First, he thought about the reason he was being abducted like this. He understood the answer to that. Can I read this normally? I don't think this is supposed to be inner dialogue by Akasaka anymore. I think this is a different scene. He understood the answer to that easily. He was taken hostage to coerce his grandfather, the minister. There was no doubt about that. He didn't know exactly what the Minister of Construction did, but it was easy to imagine that there was much to be gained from threatening him. He respected his grandfather more than most. He earnestly believed that his own grandfather was within the top 20 of the most important people in Japan. That was exactly why he wouldn't forgive anybody who tried to threaten his beloved grandfather. More importantly, he wouldn't forgive anybody who would use him as a tool to threaten his grandfather. His grandfather was really busy and rarely had time to meet with relatives. That's why, with what little time he did manage to scrape together, he just dropped by unannounced. And as an apology for not being able to meet during New Year's or summer vacation, he doted on his grandson very, very much. The number of times that Toshiki was looked upon with disregard just because his grandfather was a politician and a minister certainly weren't few. But he never thought even once that he wanted his grandfather to quit being a politician. Because it was his beloved grandfather, he wanted him to continue his career as long as possible from the bottom of his heart. However, Toshiki was now being held hostage and his grandfather was being threatened. His grandfather, who called him the apple of his eye, was surely suffering. He might do anything to save his grandson, maybe even putting aside his ideology if it was required to save his grandson. He might cave into the culprit's demands if it meant saving his grandson. When Toshiki thought about that, an inexplicable anger welled up within him. In his current situation, he was unable to forgive the cowards who would make his beloved grandfather suffer by using such dastardly means. That feeling swelled up inside of him, displacing the fear. What he thought at first was something any boy would imagine. Get out of these bonds, beat up the bad guys, then hand them over to the police. Yeah, you're not going to do that. Not if you can't even do a pull-up. Images of all the brave heroes from all the manga he had read passed through the back of his mind. In his imaginary scenario, he slipped his bonds easily, floating like a butterfly to escape his captors, then stinging like a bee to bring them all down. That's kind of gay. In the end, it was nothing more than his silly little fantasy, but with his vision obstructed and unable to see anything, it was something that he could get into more than any anime at the moment. In actuality, he was enjoying these little scenarios in his head for the long period of time he was tied up. His captors hadn't really done anything to him that they would feel sorry for. However, eventually he began to grow tired of his fantasies and more realistic scenarios began to run through his head. It was then he realized that none of them were a solution. Yes, he wanted to do something for his grandfather who was being threatened. That he was being held here to inflict pain on his grandfather was the thing that he could at least forgive, and also the most vexing. And then he noticed there was a much simpler way he could save his grandfather without having to beat up his despicable captors. That was to remove himself as a hostage from the hands of these villains. Wait. Is this gonna be the choice? Are we gonna be able to choose if the grandson somehow commits suicide? That would be so dumb. That's not gonna happen, right? Is that just part of the story and not even a choice? I don't know about this. If he was to disappear from here, his captors would have nothing to threaten his grandfather with. The captors had restrained him, but they didn't treat him roughly, and they made sure he was fed well enough. Meaning, at most, he was nothing more than the means for their threat. They weren't looking to bully or kill him out of spite. If he behaved, no ill would befall him. Realizing that gave him a strong sense of courage, and carrying his train of thought this far, he let it run its course to its natural conclusion. Right now, at this moment, Toshiki Inukai had decided to escape. His ears had been stuffed with a sponge-like material acting as makeshift earplugs. However, they didn't actually do much to block out any sound, and he could overhear everything his captors were saying. Realizing that this was to his advantage, even when his captors spoke to him, he acted like he couldn't hear them due to the earplugs. His captors, thinking that he couldn't hear their conversation, talked about all sorts of things without any reservations. Thanks to that, he was able to obtain various pieces of information. First off, this wasn't Tokyo. It seemed that this was quite a distance away, and on top of that, in the countryside, nestled deep in the mountains. I'm just gonna go on a limb here. I think Toshiki Inukai is Keiichi, and he does something stupid in this situation during the later parts of this game, as is tradition for Keiichi, and he will, for some reason, lose his memory because of that. And then the stuff in the other games happens. For some reason, they move out here, and, you know, shit ensues. But I don't know. Inukai being the kid of a big person in Japan, and Keiichi being inexplicably rich, like his family, it kind of checks out too much, as do age and the whole situation of being involved with this. I don't know, it just makes sense in my head right now. So I'm just gonna say that, and maybe I'm right. And Akasaka is obviously Tomitake. I'm not sure about that one yet. They kind of dropped the hint on that, but then it never went anywhere. So, and they don't look the same either. We saw Akasaka now. So, I don't know, maybe he got plastic surgery. Maybe Akasaka actually gets super, like, wounded in this whole thing. And he has to get plastic surgery and his face rebuilt. And that's how Tomitake becomes a thing. I don't know, just an idea. It also seemed that his captors were inconceived, inconvenienced living out here, so he could deduce that this place was far removed from any sort of town. Finally, whenever they went out to buy food or other supplies, they would always take a car. The fact caused him some dismay, because he knew that the method he learned at school of running around blindly while shouting for help wouldn't work here. He paused his little mental escape scenario there. His ultimate goal was to find somebody who would help him. If somebody who fit that description wasn't close by, his chances of escaping successfully grew slim. A desolate, far-off land deep in the mountains. A place where you couldn't even go shopping without using a car. In this situation, escaping would be very difficult. He grew depressed, and after a little while he returned to his original scenario. Imagining becoming a hero like the manga he read and beating down his captors became his respite. However, as he played those delusions out in his head, his heart, hating to surrender, continued to search for a way to escape, and then he thought of a way. If the goal was far away, then all he had to do was get closer. His goal, in a nutshell, was to find somebody who would help him. In other words, somebody other than his captors. If he faked being sick, then his captors would have to take him to the hospital or bring a doctor to him. They would probably be reluctant to do that, but he already knew that the hostage was more important than anything. In the off chance that something happened, like him dying occurred, they wouldn't be able to threaten anybody anymore. Luckily, he had an experience that would help him fake a serious illness. At the end of last year, he was inadvertently involved in a car accident and had to undergo surgery. What the fuck? The scar from that surgery was still clearly visible on his lower torso. He recalled the pain and suffering from that time. The existence of that experience would make a huge impact on the realism of his performance. He was quite confident in his ability to fake an illness. His captors at first took that as a sign he needed to use the washroom. Untying only his arms, they tried to bring him there while he was still being blindfolded, but he didn't try to get up. His hands, now free, only clutched at his abdomen as he writhed in agony.
Hey, what's wrong? Does your stomach hurt?
He still had his earplugs in, so he had to pretend he didn't hear his captors asking the question. He was about to nod, so he hurriedly had to stop himself.
What's the matter? Yeah, the kid's clutching at his stomach. Must be stomachache or something.
His captors looked down on his suffering form for a bit. One of them proposed a course of action, while another laid his doubts that Toshiki might be faking it.
What's wrong, boy? Your tummy hurt? His ears are plugged so he can't hear you. Well, that's a problem. We got a medicine that works on stomach pain. I want to go to the pharmacy and buy some. When it comes to stomach pain, there's a bunch of different meds, isn't there? As long as we don't know the cause, we shouldn't just buy him any old medicine. He's holding his stomach, maybe he's just constipated. If you buy him some medicine for that, maybe that'll help him calm down. Won't kill him if you're wrong either. Don't decide something like that on your own. Might be
appendicitis or something.
My uncle suddenly got that a while ago. That was pretty scary.
One of the captors leaned over beside the boy, who was bent over in agony.
I feel sorry for the kid. Whoa, his whole body's covered in sweat. Is it your stomach? Does it hurt? Hey, if it hurts, you shouldn't clutch at it so tightly. It'll only make it worse.
Realizing that his captors were concerned about his stomach, he inadvertently let his shirt right up, letting the scar from his surgery come into plain view. His vision was still obscured with packing tape, so he couldn't see their reaction to his scar. But his captors were taken aback, and judging from their momentary silence, he had obtained the reaction he was looking for.
Aye, this is bad. This scar, it's not that old. Does the boy have a fever? Their thermometer around?
No way we have one, but that's a lot of sweat.
Yeah, his forehead feels pretty hot, I think. I've heard that under prolonged stress, old wounds can be aggravated. And what do we do? Are you saying that medicine don't work? We don't know what surgery this scar was from, but in any case, this is bad. In the worst case, it could be fatal. It's bad. It's really, really bad. Maybe we should have a doctor take a look at it. At this rate, there's a chance that he might suddenly die on us. Toshiki Inukai, with those few words, knew that the situation was progressing exactly as he envisioned it, and snickering to himself on the inside, pressed his act even further. He didn't even need to see to know that his captors were panicked and were running around like chickens with their heads cut off at this troublesome turn of events. Should we take him to a clinic? No, that's not good. Probably better if the doctor came here. Dr. Irie, you mean? Is that okay? Will that be alright? It'd be worse if anything happened to the hostage. Nothing we can do, it's an emergency. One of the captors hurriedly left in the car. Another of the men, completely shaking up at this point, wiped the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. It looked like they were bringing a doctor. As long as the doctor wasn't an accomplice. Thank you, normal dude, for subscribing. That gave me a fright, but thank you very much. I appreciate it. Also, welcome back, Apollo. Have fun playing Project Zomboid. So, how does that even pronounce? Is it Zomboid? Zomboid? Zombobod? Zombo? It? I don't know. He was someone he should seek help from. His captors were probably wary of that happening. They would be prepared for it. You pronounced it perfectly at the beginning, so Project Zomboid. Okay. This would all come down to luck. Some of the sweat emerging from his brow was from that nervousness. At that moment, the packing tape that was covering his eyes and ears was torn off. The burning light that he was seeing for the first time in several days hurt his eyes. After that, the gag that made it hard for him to breathe was also removed. You alright, kid? We're bringing the doctor to you right now. Just hold on for a bit. The doctor was coming. The doctor was coming. Now, how was he going to ask for help, and how was he going to get away from his captors? A plethora of thoughts began swirling through his mind. I think you know this already, but don't say anything unnecessary to the doctor. We don't want to hurt you or anything. You understand that, right? Toshiki Inukai nodded while feigning pain and obedience. His expectations and the enemy's expectations. Whether they doubted he was faking his illness or not, they knew what his goal was and would try to stop it. His stomach contracted from the stress of his gambit, making it seem like his stomach really was starting to hurt. No, it really was, but there was no reason to panic. If he failed with his approach to the doctor, there was nothing to lose. If there was something to lose, it was this method of faking illness to get in touch with a doctor. If he could think of other methods from here on out, it wasn't much. But at the present, this was the easiest and most dramatic way he could think of. The more he thought about it, the more it looked like this was his first and last gambit. Eventually, he heard the sound of a car approaching once again. The sound of the car doors being hurriedly opened and shut. The sounds of several footsteps approaching. A young man in a white medical coat. As he acknowledged the boy, a suspicious look showed itself on his face. I kind of forgot how we voiced Irie. How was that? Did we give him the nerd voice? We gave you pedophile. Yes, it's the pedophile. We gave Tomitake the American voice, right? But what was he?
I don't remember.
I think he had a fairly normal but deep voice, and when he did his pedophile stuff, I made him sound super horny. Was it like a nerdy, creepy voice? Yeah, when he was in his nerdy, creepy mode. But the normal voice, I think I gave him a fairly normal voice. Who's he? I'm just gonna roll with that and watch an old recording for next week. He's not one of the kids from the village, is he? Captors didn't respond. From the looks of it, the young doctor had realized that this was an abnormal situation. One of the captors talked threateningly. It's got nothing to do with you, Doc! For a while, the doctor and captors silently glared at one another. However, unable to stand the sight of the boy continuing to suffer, the doctor, as the captors had hoped, didn't press any further. I'm concerned about this old surgical scar. What kind of operation was it? We don't know. I should really bring him back to the clinic. Doc, we really can't do that. You know what, let me just listen to his voice for a second. I don't think we ever did that.
本当は診療所に連れ帰るべきなんですがね。
Yeah, he's just got a normal voice. This didn't help. The doctor said he wanted to bring the boy back to the clinic, but the captors simply silently shook their heads at the notion. It was a fleeting hope, but it was only natural that the captors would refuse. At that moment, his eyes met with the doctor's. Seeing that the boy's painful state was abnormal, the doctor suspected it was a serious illness. That is way too close, dude. Don't get that close to kids. Are you alright? I'm a doctor. When was this surgical scar from? Last year, during the winter, from an accident. An accident? I see. This is a problem. He couldn't let the doctor figure out that he was faking it here. He had to somehow figure out some way to keep this going and tell the doctor that he was being confined and needed help. How do I say this? I think if he just made it obvious that he was faking it, that would make it very obvious for Irie to notice that, like, this kid needs help, right? Just saying. I'm going to touch the affected area, okay? If it hurts, tell me where. Seeing that it was extremely painful, the doctor crossed his arms and began to ponder. Is this who I think it is? Yes. Yes. He had to somehow get himself to a hospital. To Toshiki Inukai, faking this illness was the performance of a lifetime. I really didn't expect it to end here. That was... really, really unexpected. And now we're back to Oishi. And I'd say this is actually the perfect place to stop. Because this is a big cliffhanger, and I wanted to stop for a decent bit anyways, because I'm getting really tired. Because I'm gonna be real, this is not that great. It's getting better, of course, like they always do, but this is definitely the weakest ones of the Higurashi games so far. But it's also like the shortest one, so I don't blame it much. We're probably, hopefully, gonna end it next week, so that's good. But I'm gonna stop here because, yeah, this is a good place to stop. Probably the best one we're gonna get before things really heat up after this. I'm expecting, so yeah, we're gonna do that. I know today was not that easy to watch. Because it really wasn't all that interesting. We're almost done, and afterwards we're gonna do Hollow Knight, which I think is gonna be interesting to a lot of people. But for now, it's still Higurashi, it's still Elden Ring, of course. Regarding Elden Ring, I still haven't decided what we're gonna do next week, if we're gonna help Melina or not do what she wanted us to do. Don't say that, Joey's gonna cream. Wait until he sees the thumbnail. I think I'll ponder about that for a few more days. Telling you again, it doesn't matter which one you pick. Well, I think it matters because it means that we're gonna get different endings, right? So, and it also matters to me because I want to be. I don't know. I'm possessive. When you play Hollow Knight, Joe is gonna spam chat so much. He's also gonna use all those points he accumulated, and it's gonna be awful. Yeah. So, thank you guys for being here today. I hope you had a decent time, even though it was at times fairly boring. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you have a nice, for some of you probably, holiday weekend because of Easter. Congrats on winning the gamble. And I'll see you guys next week for more Elden Ring and Higurashi. Stay safe. Stay something. Play a few games. Have fun. Goodbye.